Chapter 302. The theatres had already been open for 7-8 days, but the popularity of Imperial City had not decreased at all. Rather, it was becoming more and more popular. There were even nobles, rich people, and merchants from the surrounding cities that came all the way to Imperial City just to personally see this wonderful movie. Imperial City's theatres did not have any empty seats and were filled with people every day. Just the cheap tickets made a lot of money, not to mention the large amount of money spent on the 4 theatres. With the current trend, after a month of screening, even if Miracle Commerce could not recover all of their costs, they would still be able to recover most of their investment. 4. Now there were only 4 theatres. Miracle Commerce had only deployed 4 theatres and they could achieve such a glorious result. If they deployed 8, 16, 32. What about 100? Who said the theatres did not make money? The prospects were clearly very good. This did not even include the other cost. A tall and slender man appeared in King City. He wore a dark green cloak that covered his tall and slender body, and a large hood covered his beautiful face. His dark green hair hung down, soft and smooth. He was very beautiful, and his sleeves were as white as jade. Most women would sigh at his beauty. Orbison looked at the Imperial City theatres and his eyes revealed a trace of interest. If someone were to see his true appearance, they would definitely be shocked. This man not only had a beautiful face that would make women jealous, his ears were long and pointed, completely different from humans. There was no doubt. This was an elf. The elven era was older than the spirit beast era. Not only were the elves handsome and elegant, their lifespans were around 8 times longer than humans. The longer the lifespan of a creature, the more they knew how to enjoy life and appreciate art. Each elf was a knowledgeable scholar and a multi-talented artist. There were no known elven kingdoms around Southern Shire, so this elf must have coincidentally wandered around Southern Shire. When he heard that there was something interesting here, he specially came to take a look. Theatres. Interesting. These greedy and endless humans, there was actually a part of them that had artistic cells. This was truly surprising. Orbison had already been to many human kingdoms, but the small southern summer country gave him a special feeling. Although it was only a small kingdom, there were many things that even large kingdoms would be surprised by. For example, there were electric lights, source energy pots, loudspeakers, and even radio stations. He really didn't know what was going on. Although the tickets to the theatre were sold out in a few days, Orbison still had a way. The theatre had VIP seats that were sold by bidding and most of the VIP seats were sold for 100,000 gold coins. The deadline for bidding was 3 hours before the screening. Orbison found the closest one and there were only 10 minutes left until the bidding deadline. "I need a VIP seat." Orbison spoke in standard human language. His voice was soft and slightly raised, giving people a noble feeling. His white hand placed several source stones on the table. "Is this enough?" "Primordial stones?" The staff of Miracle Commerce was shocked. The primordial stone flickered with light. Not only was it extremely pure, but it also contained a large amount of energy. This should be a mid-grade primordial stone. This mid-grade primordial stone was equivalent to 100 low-grade primordial stones, and a low-grade primordial stone was equivalent to 10,000 gold coins. In other words, this place was worth millions of gold coins. It's enough, it's enough. Miracle Commerce did not dare be negligent because most of the people who used source stones to buy tickets were foreign cultivators. Not to mention being this generous, I ask Mr. to wait a moment. The VIP seats were not the same. Not only was the location very good, it was also a private room. No one would disturb them and there were attendants on the side. Orbison walked into the theatre and casually ordered a few dishes cooked with source energy. He threw a few mid-grade source stones to them and counted the rest as tips. The attendants almost fainted from happiness. This tip was equivalent to 50 years of their salary. "You can leave, don't disturb me." "Yes, yes." The attendants with faces filled with happiness immediately left. Orbison picked up a piece of meat with his chopsticks and placed it in his mouth. His eyes lit up and he was filled with pleasant surprise. Humans could also make this kind of wonderful food. It was not inferior to elven gourmets at all. The small southern summer country was truly a place filled with pleasant surprises. At this time, the giant screen lit up, and the movie officially began. First, a loud eagle cry and the sound of the wind came from the speakers in all directions. Together, they intertwined in the theater, and together with the gorgeous scene, it made people feel as if they were in the theater. Interesting, very interesting. Orbison was instantly attracted by it. No matter what the content was, this scene and this effect, there was nothing to say about it. The story of the movie slowly began to unfold. There were many twists and turns. The main character was smart and witty, the Demon King was evil and cruel, and there was also a simple love story. After many twists and turns, the male and female leads finally lived happily together. Good. This is great. Everyone in the theater began to clap. Orbison was also very excited. He had traveled to many places, but this was the first time he had seen such a new and interesting thing. It really was not in vain coming to the southern summer country. When everyone was about to leave, the giant screen that had already been extinguished lit up once again. A beautiful and pure girl appeared in the center of the screen. She had a faint smile on her face as she looked at everyone. Ah, isn't this the princess? Stupid, the princess's identity is fake. This is the Miracle Commerce executive, Miss Meng Yingying. The elf was also surprised when he saw this. He never thought that this kind of technology would allow him to directly make a video call. Hello everyone, I am Meng Yingying. It has already been a week since the movie was released and I would like to thank everyone for supporting Miracle Commerce. The audience broke out in warm applause. This kind of good thing, and it was cheap, how could everyone not support it? Miracle Commerce was truly the most conscientious company in Imperial City. Meng Yingying then said to everyone, in order to thank everyone for your support, Miracle Commerce has released a souvenir, the video player. After saying this, Meng Yingying moved to the side and revealed a strange device behind her in front of everyone. The screen of this device was very large. It was a 2-meter wide and 1-meter tall image transfer mirror. There were beehive-type loudspeaker clusters installed on the left and right sides, and a layer of black boxes stuck closely to the back. It looked very high-end. This is Miracle Commerce's newest product, the video player. As long as you have this video player, you can play Miracle Commerce's movies and TV series. Currently the quantity is limited, only 10 a day. We can only sell it through bidding. In the future, after we achieve mass production, we will open it up for sale. Everyone is welcome to buy it. So it was an advertisement. This video player was very tempting. However, there were only 10 of them, which was too little. Imperial City never lacked rich people. Ordinary people didn't even dare think about it, so they could only wait for the public sale to buy it. The elf was very tempted and immediately went to the place to buy it. The 10 video players were already being auctioned off. If they bought the video player this time, they would also be able to receive a free audio disc of the Scarlet Blood War, allowing people to watch movies and TV series anywhere. Moreover, with the video player in hand, if they released more works in the future, they could also buy discs to watch after the screening. Everyone rushed to the auction house and the bidding immediately began. 500,000. 1 million. I'll bid 5 million. While the faces of countless nobles were turning red, a soft voice suddenly came from the crowd, 100 million. Everyone almost spat out blood. Who the fuck was this? Did he really not treat money as money? Even in a place like Imperial City, 100 million gold coins was not a small number. The Miracle Commerce staff were all stunned. How could there be such a crazy person in this world? Orbison did not understand the surprise of these humans because to him, 100 million gold coins was not considered much wealth. He walked onto the stage and the ring on his white finger flashed. Large amounts of source stones fell down like rain, quickly forming a small mountain. Can I take it? You can. The Miracle Commerce staff were almost blinded by the pile of source stones. The elf walked in front of a video player and gently waved his hand. The video player continued to shrink until it was sucked into the ring. Storage ring. This is the legendary storage ring. This thing is worth at least several tens of billions of gold coins. Everyone couldn't help being shocked. Storage items were priceless treasures, not to mention a convenient spatial ring. This mysterious fellow not only had a shocking amount of money, he also had a storage ring, so he definitely came from a large kingdom or even higher level place. This was enough to make the people of a small southern summer country feel a deep sense of awe. This kind of person could not be provoked. No matter how strong a family was in southern Shia, once they provoked a character from a large kingdom or even an empire, they would be consigned to eternal damnation with a single breath. Orbison did not like the feeling of being watched by humans. If it wasn't for the fact that he liked the video player, he would not have joined in on the fun. Orbison never thought that at the end of this trip, he would have such a pleasant harvest. Orbison was not in a rush to leave, rather he went to the market to buy several magnetic sound machines, phonographs, and large amounts of magnetic sound discs, casually spending over 100 million gold coins. What did this little bit of money mean to him? Orbison had his reasons for bringing these things back. The little princess had been bothering him before he left, making him bring back a gift. Orbison had a headache about this. What kind of treasure had the little princess not seen before? He couldn't just buy a young dragon to bring back. He couldn't afford to offend the little princess. If he couldn't bring back something she liked, Orbison did not dare imagine the consequences. Now he could finally let out a sigh of relief. These new and interesting things, the little princess would definitely like them. However, Orbison never would have thought that after he brought the video player to the little princess, it would bring countless troubles to himself and the elven forest. Chapter 303. Elder Sister. Meng Yingying pushed open the door in ecstasy and walked in with her 2 slender legs. 10 video disc players have been sold and each one was auctioned for a high price of around 1 million gold coins. But do you know how much the most expensive one was sold for? Meng Qingwu was startled and thought for a while. The current Meng Yingying was also someone who had seen the world and would not make a fuss like before. If it was just a few million or 10 million, she would at most be surprised for a while and would not act like this. Could it be more than 100 million? Wow, elder sister, you really dare to guess, but you guessed it right. Meng Yingying's small face was filled with shock and disbelief. I can't believe that someone would spend 100 million gold coins to buy a video disc player. When we officially start production of this video disc player, each one will at most sell for a few hundred to 1,000 gold coins. This is what it means to have too much money to burn. It can't be, really, more than 100 million? Meng Qingwu was shocked and knew that this matter was not simple. Did you investigate the identity of the other party? I did, but I couldn't find anything. He is an outsider and used source stones to trade. It seems like he has already left Imperial City. Meng Qingwu frowned and thought, Miracle Commerce's influence has already begun to spread to other countries. I don't know if this is good or bad, but I hope it doesn't bring us any trouble too early. Miracle Commerce had already become a business in southern Shia. Although it was not the richest or the largest business, it was the business with the most potential. If it continued to develop, it was only a matter of time before it became the #1 business in the country. Southern Shia was a small country after all. No matter how much Miracle Commerce grew in a small country, there would be bottlenecks and restrictions. Although Meng Qingwu did have plans and foresight to expand internationally, it was still too early. If they were targeted by some real giants, Southern Shia might not be able to protect Miracle Commerce. However, the trend was inevitable. Instead of worrying about the future, it was better to speed up. It seemed like they had to speed up their plans in all aspects, especially the acquisition of materials. Only when everyone was strong would they have the confidence to stand on the continent. Where did Chu Tian go? He just left. How could Meng Qingwu not understand her little sister's thoughts? After obtaining such a large victory, the first thing she would think of was to take credit for Chu Tian. The great scholar just came to find him and said that there was a situation in the weapon factory and wanted him to take care of it. Meng Yingying revealed a disappointed expression. Meng Qingwu gave 2 soft chuckles. What are you in a hurry for? There is a royal banquet being held in the palace tonight and all the nobles in the city will be attending. We are also invited. You is a celebrity, so you should prepare properly and not make Miracle Commerce face. Miracle Commerce. Meng Yingying naturally did not dare to be negligent. Okay, I will prepare to go now. Chu Tian came to the Imperial City Arsenal. This was the place the calm martial ruler had personally chosen. It was over 20 kilometers from Imperial City and was hidden deep in the mountains. The surrounding forest was guarded by the Dongfang family's experts, so even a bird would find it hard to fly in. This calm martial ruler is too cautious. It's just a normal source energy weapon factory, there is no need to go through so much trouble. Jiyu Qianqiu followed beside Chu Tian, not making a sound. This brat said it so easily, but did he know what this weapon factory meant to Southern Xia? Southern Xia had been suppressed by the Warhounds tribe for many years, so these source energy weapons could be their only chance to turn the tables. The Southern Summer King was this polite to Chu Tian, at least a large part of the reason was because of Chu Tian's source energy weapon technology. Chu Tian first verified his identity and then walked into the camp. He passed through a stone door and a cave, finally arriving inside the factory. There were 500-600 mechanical presses and several dozen semi-automatic 3D machines that were currently rumbling in operation. Each person working inside was wearing the same uniform with the Dongfang family's insignia on their chest. Of course, the defenses of these workshops were very tight. One could often see the Dongfang family's blood-clothed generals leading incomparably large canine demon beasts patrolling the area. The weapon factory already has this kind of scale? Chu Tian's shock was not without reason. The Imperial City Weapon Factory was built a month or two later than Central State, but he never thought that it would already develop to this degree. He estimated that it had already caught up to Central State. Now that it was fully operational, the parts were manufactured one by one and sent to a secret workshop. There were several hundred array masters engraving runes inside. This weapon factory also had half of Miracle Commerce's shares. The bigger the Dongfang family was, the more advantage Miracle Commerce would have. Great Scholar Jiyu, Scholar Chu. A very capable Dongfang family high-level elder bowed to the two of them with eyes filled with respect. Many thanks for coming to the Central State Factory. The ruler has been waiting for a long time, please come with me. The calm martial ruler was not wearing any armor and was only wearing a simple set of training clothes, but he was like an unsheathed treasure sword or an eagle on a mountain peak. It was impossible for people to ignore the calm martial ruler's existence. The calm martial ruler simply explained the matter. Chu Tian instantly understood what was happening. It turned out that when the source energy weapon blueprints were given to the Dongfang family, the calm martial ruler and the Southern Summer King immediately organized the entire family to research it. Following this, the calm martial ruler realized that he had been tricked by Chu Tian. This blueprint did not include the energy magazine. The only energy magazine production facility in the Southern Summer Country was in Central State. In other words, even if Imperial City made the source energy weapons, if they did not buy the magazines from Miracle Commerce, they would not be able to create a new army. The Southern Summer King was very angry when he learned of this matter. He wanted to force Chu Tian to take out the energy magazine manufacturing technology. However, he was stopped by the calm martial ruler because the calm martial ruler had dealt with Chu Tian before, so he knew how hard it was to deal with Chu Tian. There were many powers behind Chu Tian now, so he could not easily move against them. The most important thing was that the calm martial ruler already knew that the energy magazine was made from crystal oil and most of the crystal oil in Southern Xia was stored in Central State. When Miracle Commerce had just been built, they had already started building the battery factory. The production line was already very complete and almost all the oil mines were under Miracle Commerce's control. Now if they wanted to make their own energy magazine, not only did they need the blueprints, they also needed the source energy battery blueprints and they needed to take back the oil mines under Miracle Commerce's control. This was taking away Chu Tian's lifeline. All of Miracle Commerce's products used this as an energy source. Not to mention that different weapons had different magazines and Imperial City did not have the ability to develop them. If they angered Chu Tian, they would be separated in the end. After 2 months of research in the Dongfang family's laboratory, we have found a method to make up for the lack of magazines in the source energy pistols. The calm martial ruler spread out a blueprint in front of Chu Tian. It was a very complex source energy array. When the magazine runs out of energy, the user can pour their own spirit energy into the gun and replace the energy magazine, using spirit energy to shoot the bullet. Jiyu Qianqiu was shocked. You secretly completed this design? He was a minister of the Dongfang family, so Jiyu Qianqiu knew how deep the Dongfang family's foundation was. However, The Dongfang family hiding this from Miracle Commerce and Jiyu Chenqiu, this was a very amazing matter. If it was completed, they wouldn't have come to find me. Chu Tian rolled his eyes. Most likely they invested large amounts of money and manpower, but their research stopped in the end, so they had no choice but to ask me for help. The calm martial ruler felt a bit awkward. The Dongfang family hoped that the weapon they controlled would be more complete than Miracle Commerce's. They didn't know that this was child's play. Chu Tian could make it in a few minutes and he could do it better than them. Jiyu Chenqiu looked at the blueprint a few times. This blueprint should have been made with quite a bit of effort. Each part is very complete and this old man can't find any mistakes in it. Actually, it's very simple. Chu Tian looked over it. These runes were used incorrectly, causing the array to not work. This kind of modification will cause the weapon to be very unstable and it will cause the barrel to explode every time we test it. Saying this, he picked up a pen and changed several places. This should be fine. You can try it out. It was this simple. The Dongfang family researchers' eyes went wide. The calm martial ruler personally tested the modified source energy pistol and in the end, it could fire bullets without any problems. Like this, the source energy weapon was perfected. Even if there was no energy magazine, a soldier's spirit energy could fire bullets. Of course, in this situation, the power of the bullet was related to the strength of the user. The calm martial ruler was very depressed. The people the Dongfang family invited were all famous array masters. There were even talents from other countries that they had spent a large amount of money on, but the problem that they couldn't understand was solved by Chu Tian with a single glance. Was the difference between people this big? If they wanted to develop the source energy weapon, they couldn't leave Chu Tian. We've already made 500 source energy pistols and the speed is increasing. We can now make 200-300 a day. The calm martial ruler introduced the factory to Chu Tian, but the source energy submachine guns have just been developed. It's actually this fast. It's still not fast enough. The calm martial ruler's eyes seem to be burning with flames. Once the daily production of source energy pistols reaches over 1,000 and the daily production of source energy submachine guns reaches over 300, the time is ripe. This ruler will personally lead the army north. What? The calm martial ruler was preparing to attack the Warhound plains. This was an explosive piece of news. The Warhounds tribe's internal strife has allowed southern Xia to store up their strength for 20 years. Now we have over 1 million soldiers on the battlefield and with the source energy weapons, how could we not destroy a few Warhounds tribes? The calm martial ruler said this and suddenly looked at Chu Tian. This is a good chance to make a name for yourself. Are you interested? Why are you asking me? I don't know how to lead troops. This ruler will promote you to vice commander. You don't need to do anything else. After this battle, with your contribution in designing the source energy weapons, you will be granted a Marquis title when you return to Imperial City. The calm martial ruler looked at Chu Tian and continued, you're still this young, it's not impossible for you to be granted a Marquis title in the future. This is a good chance for you. Chu Tian gave a laugh, forget it, I'm not interested in fighting and I'm even less interested in a Marquis title. This was a meat pie falling from the sky for a chance. Chu Tian did not need to do anything, he just needed to follow the calm martial ruler to the front lines and he would be granted a Marquis title. If Chu Tian could become the Southern Summer Marquis, naturally he would have his own state, wouldn't that solidify his status? The Warhounds tribe couldn't take care of themselves, so they wouldn't be on guard against humans. If the Southern Summer country launched a sneak attack at this time, they could easily take care of several tribes, so they had a high chance of winning this battle. Chu Tian did not want this job, it was unknown what he was thinking in his heart. The calm martial ruler said with a deep gaze, consider the pros and cons of this kind of chance doesn't come by often. Once you become a Marquis, you will reach the heavens in a single step. Even the Southern Summer King will have to give you some respect and Miracle Commerce's backing will be even stronger. Chapter 304. The people of Southern Xia regarded being conferred a Marquis as the highest honor and achievement. Why did Central State's Chu Xinghe attract the attention of tens of thousands of people and why people kept coming to join him? It was all because he was a person with the potential to be conferred a Marquis. Once he was conferred a Marquis in the future, everyone would benefit, so people would flock to him like duck. A marquis could obtain a state's territory, the state's taxes and natural resources. Other than a portion being given to the imperial region, the rest could be kept in their pockets. In other words, once one was conferred a marquis, they would not have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of their life. They could just lie down and earn a lot of money. Of course, in order to prevent the marquis from neglecting and lure, the southern summer country's hereditary system of nobility had conditions. The heir had to meet the requirements of strength, fame, and military merits to inherit their father's title, otherwise the title would be taken back by the kingdom. In other words, as long as the family was prosperous, the title could be passed down. Being conferred a marquis was not just an honor, it could also bring in large amounts of benefits, allowing the family to soar. Being conferred a marquis at such a young age was unprecedented in southern Xia's history. Why did Chu Tian not care about it? The calm martial ruler was not a fool. He knew that Chu Tian's ambitions were not limited to a single country. If he was conferred a title, he would be restricted. Money, resources. Did miracle commerce lack them? This fellow was not someone who was greedy for fame, he would not take on extra responsibilities for no reason. If he couldn't keep this person for southern Xia, it would be too much of a pity. Only he could not force him, otherwise it would be the opposite of what he wanted. The calm martial ruler could only stop here and not force him, hoping that he could think it through. Let's not talk about this matter for now. The calm martial ruler changed the topic. You've been in the limelight recently, aren't you afraid of attracting trouble? The calm martial ruler really knows how to joke. Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders and said with a helpless expression, actually there is no difference between being low-key and high-key for me. Since I've come out, there are some things I can't avoid. Miracle commerce and Chu Tian had offended the interests of quite a few people. These conflicts could not be avoided, it was not something Chu Tian could solve even if he wanted to. Since it was like this, why did he need to be afraid? You do have some awareness. The calm martial ruler declined to comment, however, remember, although the burning sun ruler and the refined ruler want to deal with you, they will not easily make a move against you. Why? These two people are different from the patriarchs of the Central Plains clans. You will naturally understand the reasoning behind this in the future. There is no need for me to explain any further. Your biggest problem right now isn't with these two, but with the Wang clan. What? Wang family? If the calm martial ruler had not said this, Chu Tian would have thought he was joking with him. Recently, the Wang family was like a street rat. They were in a sorry state and didn't have the strength to fight back. If this family really had great strength and power, how could they have fallen to such a sorry state? At this time, the calm martial ruler was already at the base. Looking up at the blue sky, he suddenly said in a meaningful voice, "Today's royal banquet is not simple, you need to be careful." After saying this, a blood-red griffin swooped down. The calm martial ruler jumped onto the griffin and flew to the north, heading in the direction of Imperial City. The calm martial ruler is being strange, as if he is hinting at something. Chu Tian asked Jiyu Qianqiu beside him, "Hey, do you know what he is referring to?" Jiyu Qianqiu said in a serious voice, "I think the calm martial ruler is warning us that this royal banquet is filled with hidden dangers." "Damn, are you a blockhead?" Chu Tian revealed a dissatisfied expression. "Am I a fool that can't even hear this? Can you say something I don't know?" "Hey." Jiyu Qianqiu awkwardly wiped his sweat. "I spend most of my time in the research institute, so this old man doesn't know what is happening in the royal court. However, from what I know, there are two people that will appear in the royal banquet. The ones the calm martial ruler wants you to be wary of should be these two people." "Which two?" "The first is a first-grade military marquis, the departing flame marquis." "So it's him." The departing flame marquis had a high status. Not only was he a respected marquis, he was also the marshal of the departing flame army. This kind of marquis with military power was called a military marquis. Of the 8 marquises of the southern summer country, there were 4 marquises with ranks. Thunder State's Golden Arrow Marquis, Southern State's Western Marquis, and Kang State's Blue Cloud Marquis were all second-grade military marquises. Only the departing Flame Marquis was a first-grade military marquis. Central State's Marquis Shen Fenghu, Qing State's Greenwood Marquis, and the others had armies, but these armies could only be used to defend and could not be used to fight in other places. Then who is the second one? The Battle Dragon Army's young commander, Wang Tianlong. Chu Tian was not unfamiliar with the Wang family's history. This great summer royal family had declined a lot and had almost fallen several times, but the great summer royal family's blood was very strong, so their descendants had very high innate talents. Every time they were on the verge of extinction, there would always be a genius that would rise to carry the family's banner. Wang Tianlong's great-grandfather was an illustrious southern summer marquis, but there were no talents in the two generations, so the marquis inheritance was broken. Only when Wang Tianlong was born did the Wang family see hope again. This person had shown shocking talent since he was young. Not only was his cultivation talent high, he also had the ability to lead. He had been a general in the army at the age of 15 and had taken over the Wang family's Battle Dragon Army at the age of 20. In the last 10 years, the army had become stronger and had gained more and more merit points, so it was worth paying attention to. Recently Chu Tian had made the Wang family miserable, so Wang Tianlong would not let him off. Jiyu Qianqiu immediately added, "But you don't need to worry too much. There is the calm martial ruler above and this old man below. Miracle commerce itself is not weak, so it is not easy to move against them. Come on." Chu Tian did not care about this at all. The royal palace was very lively. The palace doors opened one by one and there were countless beautiful maids busying themselves with decorations. A fiery red carpet was spread from the main hall to the outer palace doors. The royal knights were standing in a line of two, with new armors and weapons, so they looked shiny. Each person was holding a griffin in their hands and their feathers were untainted by a speck of dust. They were standing straight like statues, as if they were welcoming a sacred moment. There were several ceremonial guards, holding ceremonial instruments, creating a very magnificent formation. The southern summer king Dongfang Hao was at the head, with the calm martial ruler Dongfang Gan, the burning sun ruler Nangong Yun, and the refined ruler Shangguan Tsongfeng standing at the front. The other ministers and generals were standing behind them. "Why are you only here now? Quickly come over." Meng Yingying pulled Chu Tian over and said while scratching her head, "Something big is definitely going to happen today. Look at this scene, the honorable king and the three rulers have personally come out. This formation is truly frightening." The Meng Qingwu sisters, Nangong Yun, and Chen Bingyu, the four of them were all here. Meng Qingwu was as calm as usual, Meng Yingying's face was filled with excitement, and Chen Bingyu had a cold expression like she did not care about this matter. It was the normally lively Nangong Yun who was hiding behind the others, not daring to show herself. She was afraid of the burning sun ruler. "Dong, dong, dong. Sir departing flame marquis has arrived." Suddenly, a heaven-shaking drum sound rang out. Nangong Yun's face turned even paler and her fists tightly clenched. She couldn't help trembling, not knowing if it was from anger or fear. "Don't worry." Chu Tian walked over and patted Nangong Yun's shoulder. "You'll have to face this matter sooner or later. With me here, they won't be able to touch you." Nangong Yun was normally overbearing and strong, but now she was like a little white rabbit with a pitiful expression. Meng Qingwu comforted her. "Nangong, you are a member of our miracle commerce. Without our permission, no one can take you away from us." That's right, that's right." Meng Yingying waved her fist. "Elder sister Nangong, just bring out your usual domineering aura. Everyone will support you." Nangong Yun's heart was very moved. What kind of power the Nangong family was, everyone was clear on it. In order to protect her, everyone did not hesitate to go against this giant. This made her feel grateful and guilty. Even with Miracle Commerce's current position against the Nangong family, they would still have to pay a heavy price. Was it worth it? Nangong Yun asked herself. Her position in the company was not irreplaceable. She could not be as smart as Meng Qingwu, she could not manage the entire company for Chu Tian. She was not as strong as Chen Bingyu, she could protect Chu Tian's safety and she did not have a special relationship with Chu Tian like Yingying. In Nangong Yun's eyes, she was dispensable to Miracle Commerce. With the sound of orderly footsteps, a group slowly came in. This group's equipment was very strange. Each person was wearing a thick heavy armor and their weapon was a giant sword that was as tall as a person. There were large amounts of flame runes engraved on the blade that released an incomparably hot energy. The Nangong family's famous departing flame army. The Nangong family was a family even older than the Great Summer Country. They were the descendants of the Phoenix, and their bloodline contained a large amount of power. The Nangong family had a very important position in southern Xia because the Nangong family had many talented generals like clouds. The soldiers trained by the Nangong family were the trump card of southern Xia. The departing flame army had a terrifying battle strength. They were adopted when they were young, and their bodies were tempered with special herbs, making their bodies as hard as stone and making them lose their sense of pain. Then they were instilled with a secret cultivation technique, which took around 10 years to complete. This secret technique passed down by the Nangong family overdrew the potential of the soldiers. These soldiers did not have a long lifespan and their growth limit was locked, but it ensured that the soldiers' battle strength was uniform. They had all reached the peak 9th body refinement layer, and with special martial arts and equipment, the battle strength of these soldiers on the battlefield was enough to make the Warhounds tribe tremble in fear. In the past, the Blazing Flame Marquis led 80,000 of these soldiers and they were undefeatable. In a bitter battle 10 years ago, the Blazing Flame Marquis had died on the Warhounds' plains, but he had killed 3 times the number of Warhounds elites. The current departing Flame Marquis had this kind of army in his hands, which was the strongest heavy infantry of southern Xia. The departing Flame Marquis walked in the front with the Nangong family's unique red hair. His body was very well proportioned, not fat or thin, and his eyes were red like a burning torch. He was wearing a dark red scale armor on the inside and a fire red robe on the outside. As he walked, a strong wind blew, making people feel a wave of pressure like a wave of fire. 7 people were standing behind the departing Flame Marquis. 6 of them were high-level members of the Nangong family and retainers of the minister rank. They were all trusted generals of the departing Flame Marquis, and they were all peak experts in the 9th awakened soul layer. The other one was a 16-17-year-old youth. From his red hair, it could be seen that he was also a descendant of the Nangong family, and his appearance was 60 to 70% similar to the departing Flame Marquis. This youth was the departing Flame Marquis' most important son, the departing Flame Marquis' successor, Nangong Jian. Greetings to the king. Greetings to the ruler. The 8 people led by the departing Flame Marquis bowed. The several hundred departing flame soldiers all knelt down on one knee. The Southern Summer King and the 3 rulers gave a slight nod, especially the Burning Sun ruler who had a proud look on his face. This was the pride of their Nangong family. Chapter 305. The departing Flame Marquis was a first-grade military marquis, leading troops outside all year round. If there was nothing major, he could not easily return to Imperial City. There had to be something important happening today. Today was not a normal imperial banquet. Actually, some people had already noticed that there was a high platform in front of the royal palace. It looked like a platform for generals and a platform for rewards, but they did not know what it was used for. The departing Flame Army soldiers went to rest. The others continued to wait in place. At this time, the departing Flame Marquis looked over at Chu Tian like an eagle, falling onto Nangong Yun behind him. His eyes turned cold as he coldly said, "Nangong Yun, you are a descendant of the Nangong family, yet you are standing behind a bastard from a small clan. Not bowing to this Marquis and not bowing to the ruler, you truly do not consider yourself a member of the Nangong family." With these words, everyone's attention was focused on him. During this boring wait, it wasn't bad to have a good show to watch. The Southern Summer King's eyes sparkled a few times, but he did not say anything. It seemed like he did not plan on interfering. Nangong Yun's expression was a bit unnatural. This was the family's most famous marquis, and above him was the Nangong family's supreme Burning Sun ruler. The pressure Nangong Yun faced could be imagined. Greetings to the departing Flame Marquis. Nangong Yun was not a weak person, so he bravely stood up. Greetings to the ruler. The Southern Summer King deliberately said, "Yi, Burning Sun ruler, the Nangong family has such an outstanding descendant, so why has this king never seen him before? Nangong Yun is outside all year round, it is normal for your majesty not to have seen him before." The Burning Sun ruler's aura was like that of a lion, covering Nangong Yun with a pressure. "It's not too late to come back now, don't make the same mistake again. The family has already recognized your potential, so this ruler can guarantee that as long as you come back, we will not make it hard for you. The Burning Sun ruler knew how important Nangong Yun was. This junior that was not valued by the Nangong family had actually become a high-level executive of miracle commerce. If he could grasp Nangong Yun in his hands, the Nangong family would have a way to infiltrate the fat head that was miracle commerce. I have good prospects in miracle commerce, so I don't have any plans to go back for now. Nangong Yun was truly worthy of being Nangong Yun. Even in front of the high-status Burning Sun ruler, she still dared to say these words, "Please be assured, ruler, Nangong Yun will forever be the descendant of the phoenix, this will not change even in death." The Burning Sun ruler knit his brows. "What a joke." The departing Flame Marquis said with a cold laugh, "Do you think this is a negotiation? What you've done since you left the Nangong family has severely violated the rules and laws of the family. If you don't return to the family and ask for forgiveness, then I'll have no choice but to cripple you myself to restore the family's reputation." Humph, what an arrogant fellow. "Your grandfather, Chu Tian, is here. How dare you threaten my people? If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know how powerful I, Chu Tian, am." Chu Tian glanced at Jiyu Chenqiu and the others. The departing Flame Marquis is truly awe-inspiring. An old man holding a long staff walked out of the crowd. It wasn't anyone else, it was the great scholar Jiyu Chenqiu. Jiyu Chenqiu even dared to scold the calm martial ruler, not to mention a trivial departing Flame Marquis. It was not convenient for Chu Tian to appear, so it was best for him to speak. "His Majesty and the Burning Sun ruler have not said anything about punishing her, but you want to cripple Nangong Yun. What qualifications do you have to do this? Or are you afraid of something?" The Burning Sun ruler coldly looked at him. "Don't you think the great scholar is meddling in the Nangong family's matters?" "Family matters? Is it really just a family matter?" Jiyu Chenqiu said with a smile, "This matter is not just your family matters, but rather it is a matter of the country, a matter of the world. This old man cannot turn a blind eye to this matter." The Burning Sun ruler's old face turned dark. This old mouth really knew how to speak nonsense. Anything could be pulled together by him. What fucking country matters was this? Jiyu Chenqiu righteously said, "Nangong Yun is a genius of Southern Xia and her talent is rarely seen in my Southern Xia. However, because of the Burning Sun ruler's selfishness and the departing Flame Marquis' shameless actions, she has been excluded from Imperial City for 10 years. I want to ask everyone, how many decades can a genius have? Her golden years have been ruined by these fellows. Isn't this Southern Xia's sorrow? Isn't this Southern Xia's great loss? Southern Xia has been established for several hundred years, but there are many internal disasters and the warhounds outside. There are no geniuses and the palace is filled with rotten wood. It is all because of your despicable ways." This was not the first time Jiyu Chenqiu said these words, but this time he was saying them in front of the Southern Summer King and the Burning Sun ruler. This was slapping the Nangong family's face and slapping the Burning Sun ruler's face. It could be seen that the Burning Sun ruler's face was already dark. It was fine if it came from other people's mouths, but if it came from the great scholar's mouth, it would have a completely different meaning. With the great scholar's influence, scolding the Burning Sun ruler and the departing Flame Marquis would quickly spread across the country and it would be a large blow to the Nangong family. Family scandals could not be spread out. There was indeed something hidden in this matter. This old man has always been puzzled. Zhao Piyu came out to add insult to injury. Nangong Yun has a rare god-level source spirit and would be heavily cultivated even in a large kingdom, but the Nangong family treats her like chicken ribs. Could it be that the Nangong family has so many geniuses that they can't accept a single god-level source spirit? Wrong. Another scholar came out. According to this old man's knowledge, Nangong Yun was a supporter of the Blazing Flame Marquis. When the Blazing Flame Marquis died in battle, before his heroic soul had even passed away and his corpse had not even turned cold, his influence was immediately cut down and many people with unlimited potential were expelled. Could it be that the Burning Sun ruler did not know? Not only did the Burning Sun ruler know, he even allowed this matter to happen. This kind of method is a disgrace to the spirits of the Blazing Flame Army. The Nangong family's method is unfair. If the descendants of those who died in battle were like the blazing flame Marquis, then who would die for the southern summer country? Immediately, a group of people began to shout out and the topic was placed on the sensitive blazing flame Marquis. The burning sun ruler's anger almost burst out of his chest. The matter of the blazing flame Marquis was something he would never forget, but now that these damn dogs had jumped out to bite him, he couldn't bite them back, right? In terms of arguing, he could not beat these people. It was fine if he didn't say anything, but once he did, they would find a flaw and he would be fiercely criticized. The departing flame Marquis angrily said, "What kind of things are you, daring to slander the ruler? Damn! This Marquis did not provoke these mad dogs. What was wrong with these mad dogs? Why did they all come out to bite people?" The departing flame Marquis felt like he was surrounded by 10,000 dogs. He had just returned to Imperial City, so of course he did not know that in the Imperial City's royal court, most of the scholars were following Chu Tian. Right and wrong, it is in the hearts of the people. Jiyu Qianqiu loudly said, "Nangong Yun is not a direct descendant of the Burning Sun ruler, so the Burning Sun ruler deliberately pushed her away. Everyone knows about this biased heart, could it be something we made up?" Zhao Piyu then added, "You've ruined Nangong Yun's life for 10 years, do you want to ruin her for the rest of her life?" Chu Tian was secretly happy. Not bad, not bad. These old men had a bit of battle strength, it was not in vain for Chu Tian to use them. These scholars were famous for being mad dogs in Imperial City. Whether it was a direct argument or a quibble, they were all experts. The Nangong family knew how strong these mad dogs were, so they kept their mouths shut. Even if they were angry, they did not dare talk back. Talking too much was a mistake. The Meng Qingwu sisters were very surprised. The Nangong family was too useless. The most troublesome Chu Tian did not even open his mouth and these old men had already beaten them to the point where they could not fight back. This kind of result was too boring. The Burning Sun ruler could not sit still as he said with a dark face, "Talent is not completely determined by one's source spirit and potential is not completely determined by one's talent. It is too obvious that you are changing the concept." The scholars wanted to fight back. Nangong Yun is a person of miracle commerce. No matter what the Burning Sun ruler says, we will not hand over Nangong Yun. A calm voice sounded out as Chu Tian walked out from the crowd, "But if the Burning Sun ruler feels that the great scholar's words are biased, I have a way to solve this." This person was the famous Chu Tian. Chu Tian completely ignored the departing flame Marquis's cold gaze and did not use sharp words to argue. It was useless no matter how good the argument was. The angrier the Nangong family was, the more trouble they would have in the future. Only by attacking the Nangong family from their roots could they achieve their best goal. So, Chu Tian looked over at Nangong Yun. "I think that miracle commerce is more suitable for my growth and the ruler wishes for me to accept the family's training. It is hard to choose between the two, so let's use strength to speak." Nangong Yun slammed her hammer on the ground and pointed a finger at Nangong Jian. Do you dare accept my challenge?" The Burning Sun ruler and the departing flame Marquis were both stunned. Challenge? What was Nangong Yun thinking? Nangong Jian is one of the best descendants of the Nangong family and has received the best training from the Nangong family since he was young. As for me, I was not valued since I was young and was exiled to a small central state city 10 years ago. It was fortunate that I met Boss and Miracle Commerce that I was able to grow. Now, I want to use the results of Miracle Commerce's training in half a year to challenge the genius that my family has been training for over 10 years. If I win, it will prove my growth in Miracle Commerce and I will continue to stay in Miracle Commerce. The departing flame Marquis asked in a deep voice, "What if I lose?" "I will return all of my shares in Miracle Commerce and will no longer have anything to do with Miracle Commerce. Then I will return to the Nangong family and you can deal with me as you wish." The faces of the Nangong family sunk. The meaning behind this was that no matter who won or lost, they could forget about touching Miracle Commerce. When the Southern Summer King saw this, he immediately came forward to mediate. "Today is a special day, why is everyone fighting until their faces are red? How about you give this king some face and let this matter end here?" The refined ruler opened his mouth to say, "Two juniors are fighting, but with us watching, there won't be any problems. What is there to worry about? The Southern Summer King did not really want to stop them. He looked at the Burning Sun ruler beside him. The Burning Sun ruler said, "The Nangong family does not fear challenges. Humph, a trivial cheap person wants to challenge me." Before the departing Flame Marquis could speak, Nangong Jen came forward. "This battle is not only related to the Nangong family's dignity, it is also related to my personal dignity. I ask your majesty to give me a chance." Nangong Jen's eyes were filled with disdain. The two of them were around the same age. In Nangong Jen's eyes, Nangong Yun was just a lowly servant who often bullied and insulted her when they were young. Later, when Nangong Yun was tested to have a super strong talent, instantly overshadowing the other geniuses, Nangong Jen went crazy with jealousy. A lowly fellow from a branch family, how could he have such a strong bloodline? This was simply an unacceptable matter. The lucky thing was that Nangong Yun had followed her father and was sent to a small city. 10 years had passed and Nangong Jen was now a 7th awakened soul layer true soul expert. He was not inferior to Dongfang Haoran or Wang Tianlong, but the only thing he lacked was time. Nangong Jen was not even 20 years old. Dongfang Haoran was already 27 years old. Wang Tianlong was already 31 years old. Therefore, if Nangong Jen was given enough time, he was confident he could catch up to the so-called imperial city's two prides. In Nangong Jen's eyes, Dongfang Haoran and Wang Tianlong were qualified to be his opponents. As for this Nangong Yun, she was only fit to be stepped on. But speaking of this, in these 10 years, this ugly duckling of the past had turned into a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. If he crippled Nangong Yun and turned her into his exclusive property, pressing her hot body under him every night, that would be a pretty good feeling. She couldn't have already slept with Chu Tian, right? It didn't matter, this girl's bloodline was not bad. Even if she was used as a reproductive tool, as long as she gave birth to a few good descendants, it would be enough to consolidate her position. When Nangong Yun felt Nangong Jen's gaze filled with obscenity, how could she not guess his intentions? The anger in her heart exploded. She had been bullied by this fellow for 10 years and now that 10 years had passed, she could finally personally take revenge. With the Burning Sun ruler and the departing Flame Marquis cultivation, they could see through this with a single glance. Nangong Yun was not weak, she was already in the 6th awakened soul layer. This person had a fire phoenix source spirit, so under normal circumstances, she could jump levels to fight. However, Nangong Jen was in the 7th awakened soul layer and it was not just a single level, it was the difference between the mid and late awakened soul layers. Was this gap that easy to cross? Not to mention, Nangong Yun only cultivated her family's cultivation technique, so she could not learn any core martial arts. Nangong Jen was a direct descendant, so naturally he would be heavily cultivated. Large amounts of materials were enough to create a high-level cultivation technique, so it was impossible for him to lose. So, the two of them agreed to this fight. The departing Flame Marquis softly said, "Don't waste time. I'll give you 5 moves to finish this fight." Nangong Jen cupped his fists to his father, understood. In front of the Southern Summer King, the 3 rulers, and countless people, this was a good chance to show off. If he could show off his strength, perhaps the Imperial City's twin prides would become the Imperial City's 3 pride. "Did you hear that? Someone said he would defeat you in 5 moves. Chu Tian said to Nangong Yun, "So, you have to be quick with your movements. Relax." Nangong Yun gave a laugh, "For this kind of trash, I only need 1 move." Chapter 306. What? 1 move? You're teasing me. Chu Tian did not know how strong Nangong Jen was, but he knew that he would not be weak. If Chu Tian did not use the Flame Demon transformation, he would not necessarily be able to defeat him. Even if he used the Flame Demon transformation, he would not be able to finish the battle in 2-3 moves. Nangong Yun was good, boasting that she would only use 1 move. When did this little girl become more arrogant than father? This was clearly heard by the other side as everyone had strange expressions on their faces, especially the Nangong family. They did not feel anger, but rather a joke. Was Nangong Yun overconfident or had she not seen the world, not knowing how strong a true genius was? Nangong Jen's talent was not inferior to Chu Xinghe's. Although he did not have an ancient sword cultivation inheritance like Chu Xinghe, the Nangong family's inheritance was not inferior to an ancient cultivator's. After all, the Nangong family was an ancient cultivator family. Although they had gone through several generations, they still had many treasures left behind. Nangong Yun's burning the heaven art was a cultivation technique that every member of the Nangong family had to practice, but for a family like the Nangong family, the truly powerful cultivation techniques were the secret techniques that they would not easily pass to other family members. Nangong Jian was different from Nangong Yun, who was exiled at the age of 9. The ancient inheritance of the Nangong family was something that he could not touch. In terms of strength, he would not lose to Dongfang Haoran. Less nonsense. The departing flame Marquis coldly said, "Do it." Nangong Jian gave a few laughs with a gloomy face. His red hair suddenly floated into the air and a terrifying heat was released into the sky, finally forming an incomparably large flame giant. This was Nangong Jian's source spirit. Great heaven burning palm. That incomparably large palm came crashing down. Nangong Yun's expression did not change as she gave a cold snort. Her body was suddenly filled with starlight and she did not dodge it at all. Everyone turned pale with fright. Is she crazy? The moment the giant palm hit Nangong Yun, it was bounced back by a layer of starlight. The entire palm shattered into pieces and exploded into flames that fell from the sky like a rain of fire. The burning sun ruler and the departing flame Marquis faces fell. To an individual, Nangong Jian's attack just now might not have been his full strength. It was probably because Nangong Jian did not plan to directly kill Nangong Yun. He still planned to keep this woman as a forbidden puppet, so he only had the thought of severely injuring or crippling her, and did not use his true killing move. Even so, the might of this palm was enough to reach the true soul realm. Nangong Yun had blocked the attack unscathed. That defensive cultivation technique could perfectly resist the attacks of cultivators of a higher level. It was definitely a super defensive cultivation technique. Among them, the 3 rulers and the Southern Summer King were especially shocked because the 3 of them could vaguely see that Nangong Yun's cultivation technique had not reached its peak. There was still room for improvement. Even if he already had such a defensive power at his current level, how terrifying would his defensive power be when he cultivated to the peak in the future? Nangong Yun laughed loudly and said, "Too weak." With just this bit of strength, he wanted to break through the starlight immortal body that boss taught him. Dream on. This defensive cultivation technique that made people drool, was it actually the starlight immortal body? There were quite a few people gathered information on miracle commerce. Chu Tian's starlight immortal body was not a secret and almost every high-level member of miracle commerce practiced this cultivation technique. This cultivation technique was much stronger than they imagined. This cultivation technique could even become a sect or a family's inheritance technique. Nangong Jian flew into a rage out of shame. He wanted to be merciful and let her keep her beautiful and hot body so that he could enjoy it in the future. He never thought that this fellow would have some skills, actually blocking a true soul realm expert's attack. Since it's like this, then I'll let you see the Nangong family's true secret technique. Nangong Jiao formed a seal with both of his hands. His thick origin energy burst out. It was as if he was standing on a volcano that was spewing out hot air. He soared into the sky while a large number of profound symbols moved around him like a torrential lava river that contained destructive power. The Nangong family's heaven-burning divine flame curse? The Southern Summer King's expression slightly changed. This was a secret technique of the Nangong family, and even in the Nangong family's direct bloodline, only a few people had the qualifications to learn it. This move was very strong, and when used with the heaven-burning art, it was enough to jump levels to kill a strong opponent. This move was very difficult to practice. The first requirement was to reach the perfection realm of the heaven-burning art. The Southern Summer family's inherited heaven-burning art was even more complicated than the Dongfang family's grand spirit secret art or the Shangguan family's life and death judgment. The number of people in the family that could reach the perfection realm could be counted on one's fingers. They never thought that the 20-year-old Nangong Jian would be able to do it. 9 heavens divine flame, listen to my command, burn the heavens. The runes that were floating around Nangong Jian like a river all gathered in the palm of his right hand, finally compressing into a dazzling energy ball that was as bright as the sun. Meng Qingwu was very worried. Chen Bingyu, if there is an accident, you have to make a move. Chen Bingyu nodded with a serious expression. Large amounts of snowflakes had already condensed around her body. Chu Tian's expression did not change. His jet-black eyes stared at Nangong Yun with a trace of surprise in his eyes. Everyone else was flabbergasted. No one had thought that this matter would develop to such an extent. Nangong Yun, I'll give you another chance. Nangong Jian held the fireball filled with energy and looked at Nangong Yun with a victorious expression. Either you become my maid or you turn to ashes in the divine flame. Nangong Yun closed her eyes and a red light soared into the sky. The fire phoenix's cry filled the 9 heavens and a profound imprint appeared between Nangong Yun's eyebrows. There was no reply. But Nangong Yun's actions were the answer. Nangong Jian's face turned fierce as he roared, "Die!" That dazzling fireball turned into a beam of light. Even if steel touched this beam of light, it would instantly melt. This kind of energy charged at Nangong Yun with an unstoppable momentum. Nangong Yun suddenly opened her eyes, and like a fearless flaming bird, she unexpectedly rushed straight towards the beam of light. She's seeking death. Nangong Jian's strength is enough to kill an 8th awakened soul layer cultivator. When Nangong Yun touched the beam of light, the starlight was shattered and her body was covered in burns. No, this strength was too strong. The starlight immortal body could not block it. Chen Bingyu was about to make a move. Pa! A hand reached out and stopped Chen Bingyu. Chu Tian's eyes released a strange glow. No rush, there's a change. Chen Bingyu looked at Chu Tian in confusion. Could he not see that Nangong Yun could not block it? This strength was too strong for her. In this short instant, Nangong Yun's body was pierced by the flames. Everyone sighed. With this kind of terrifying injury, this girl was dead for sure. It was a pity she was a genius. Turn to ashes. Nangong Jian wildly roared out. Who would have thought that at this moment, a resounding and resonant phoenix cry would come from the center of the pillar of fire? The originally perfectly straight pillar of fire suddenly exploded like fireworks. The flames quickly condensed into the shape of an incomparably large fire phoenix. The Southern Summer King and the 3 rulers were shocked. What is this? Nangong Yun stood in the center of the fire phoenix. Her body seemed like it had been burned, but there were golden flames coming from her body, making her look like an elemental life form. Those golden flames quickly solidified and turned back into delicate skin, not leaving a single scar. Even if she was bathed in a temperature that could melt steel, Nangong Yun was not injured at all. Rising from the ashes, the burning sun ruler's voice was a bit trembling. No. Undying bird. The Nangong family members all had the urge to kneel down in worship. Undying bird. This was the legendary undying bird. Nangong Yun seemed to be completely immune to fire. Not only were the flames that bombarded Nangong Yun unable to cause any harm to Nangong Yun, they were all devoured by Nangong Yun and transformed into her own strength. Nangong Jian was completely stunned. When had he ever seen this kind of cultivation technique before? It's my turn. Falling phoenix strike. That giant fire phoenix flew out from Nangong Yun's body and quickly fell at Nangong Jian. This is bad. The Nangong family members were shocked. Nangong Yun's attack did not just contain all her strength, it also contained all the strength Nangong Jian had released. Not to mention an 8th awakened soul layer cultivator, even a 9th awakened soul layer cultivator would not be able to block it. Fast. Too fast. The divine phoenix spread its wings and instantly arrived. The departing flame Marquis did not even have time to save his son. When Nangong Jian was about to be burned to ashes, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The burning sun ruler's thick right arm grabbed the fire phoenix's neck. This powerful fire phoenix was casually grabbed by the burning sun ruler and it could not move at all. The moment the fire phoenix was crushed by this irresistible strength, it gave a very angry roar and spat out a divine flame. It passed by the burning sun ruler and landed on Nangong Jian's body. Ah! A pitiful cry rang out. Nangong Jian was burned to ashes and he fell from the sky like a burning crow. No. The departing flame Marquis flew into the air. Using Nangong Jian, He took out a bottle of precious medicine and poured it into his mouth. When he carefully checked his meridians, the departing flame marquis felt his body turn cold. Nangong Jian's body had almost been destroyed. Such a fierce fellow, I'll kill you. The departing flame marquis was about to make a move in his rage, but two figures came out at the same time and blocked the departing flame marquis. They were Jiyu Chenqiu and Chen Bingyu. Even if the departing flame marquis had a shocking cultivation base, facing two peak ninth awakened soul layer experts at the same time, he had no way of passing. At this time, the calm martial ruler could not sit still. With a gentle flick of his finger, a giant scarlet sword fell down from the clouds. It suddenly appeared between the two sides, stopping them from fighting any further. Admit defeat. The calm martial ruler coldly said, using the strong to suppress the weak is not the style of a military marquis. Everyone was shocked by the giant scarlet sword descending from the sky. This sword appeared in the air, but it made it hard for the great scholar, Chen Bingyu, and the departing flame marquis to move, as if they had been grabbed by an invisible hand. Too strong. The calm martial ruler's strength was unfathomable. Burning Sun ruler, do you also want to take revenge for your grandson? The Burning Sun ruler's eyes were very complicated, just like a defeated lion. He looked at Nangong Yun. Can you tell me, what secret technique did you just use? Chu Tian gave her a slight nod. This is not a secret technique, but rather a cultivation technique. Nangong Yun loudly said, this is the super cultivation technique boss gave me, the great Nirvana scripture. I've only just started learning it. Chapter 307. The Nangong family members were instantly petrified, as if they could not accept this kind of blow. As for the Southern Summer King, the calm martial ruler, the refined ruler, and the others, their expressions all changed. They knew what this meant. This was a cultivation technique, not a secret technique. The two were completely different concept. Secret techniques were based on a cultivation technique and could be used as a move. Because of this, those that did not have a high growth rate would not change as their cultivation base and cultivation technique increased. Once they reached a certain level of cultivation, the good secret technique would become useless. Cultivation techniques were completely different. The main cultivation technique was a cultivator's foundation. A strong cultivation technique meant a strong cultivation, and a strong cultivation meant a strong cultivation technique. Increasing one's cultivation technique could increase one's cultivation base, but at the same time, a bottleneck in a cultivation technique could also increase one's cultivation base. A good cultivation technique had a deep influence on a cultivator's growth. The higher the cultivation technique, the higher the growth rate. So to a cultivator, choosing a cultivation technique was very important. A cultivation technique could accompany a cultivator for the rest of their life, becoming stronger with their cultivation base and not becoming more and more useless. Nangong Yun's trivial sixth awakened soul layer cultivation could already display this kind of destructive might. Then in the ninth awakened soul layer or the true spirit realm, what kind of realm would she reach? What made people feel even more suffocated was that Nangong Yun claimed that this cultivation technique was only at the entry level. Just the entry-level Great Nirvana scripture had already surpassed the peak realm of the Nangong family's ancestral cultivation technique, burning the heavens art. Was this really a human cultivation technique? It was simply comparable to a demon god. This Great Nirvana scripture could be considered a peak-level cultivation technique even in the strongest empires on the continent. It was not inferior to the imperial family's secret techniques. Actually, Chu Tian was also very surprised. This Great Nirvana scripture was one of the few high-level cultivation techniques he had brought from the future. Although it was a bit inferior to Chu Tian's Demon God 9 transformations, it was still a peerless cultivation technique in this era. This cultivation technique was very hard to cultivate and it was not something that could be cultivated in a day. Chu Tian had already taught this cultivation technique to Nangong Yun, but he did not expect her to learn it immediately. According to Chu Tian's estimation, if Nangong Yun wanted to cultivate it, she would need to reach the true spirit realm. Moreover, the amount of materials needed to cultivate it was very terrifying. Even if the entire miracle commerce was emptied, it would not be enough. Not long ago when Dongfang Haoran challenged her, Nangong Yun had not completely grasped it. In just a few days, She had actually comprehended it. This was too mysterious. Nangong Yun's trivial sixth awakened soul layer cultivation had touched the threshold without any external help. Although he hadn't even reached the small success stage, he could already display a portion of the great Nirvana scripture's power. This was inconceivable to Chu Tian, impossible. At most, it would have an amplification effect on ordinary fire attribute technique. A god-level source spirit was only a basic requirement for the great Nirvana scripture. Nangong Yun's fire phoenix source spirit was a god-level source spirit, but her source spirit strength was not high. It could only be considered a low-grade god-level source spirit. Even if he was perfectly compatible with the cultivation technique, logically speaking, he shouldn't have been able to master it so quickly. It seemed like there was a problem with Nangong Yun's family bloodline. This family claimed to be the descendants of the Phoenix clan. Could it be that there was a peerless almighty ancestor in their clan that allowed their descendants to possess this kind of potential? Nangong Yun's luck was good, and her potential was stimulated, so she was lucky enough to grasp a bit of the great Nirvana scripture's true power. Nangong Yun's potential was even higher than he had imagined. No matter what the reason was, Nangong Yun had successfully entered the sect. This was a fact that could not be changed. Chu Tian was well aware of the power of the great Nirvana scripture. After Nangong Yun trained in this cultivation technique, he would be able to restrain all the flames in the world. Now that Nangong Yun was in the awakened soul realm, she was almost immune to fire. The energy released by Nangong Jian was unable to harm Nangong Yun in the slightest. Instead, it increased Nangong Yun's strength. This was just the beginning. If he could cultivate the great Nirvana scripture to the large success realm, then it could be said that Nangong Yun was immune to all flames. No matter how high the temperature, no matter how strong the strength, trying to kill Nangong Yun with flames was an impossible matter. If Nangong Yun really had a lucky chance, she could cultivate the great Nirvana scripture to the peak. As long as she had a trace of strength, Nangong Yun would have an immortal body. This was the reason why Chu Tian valued Nangong Yun so much. When he decided to pass this cultivation technique to Nangong Yun, Chu Tian had already decided to focus on training this person. With the power of this cultivation technique, she would be able to stand at the peak of the continent in the future. Nangong Yun easily defeated Nangong Jian, so she was filled with confidence. Even the strongest person in our family's younger generation is only this strong. If the family can take out a cultivation technique that is stronger than the starlight immortal body and the great Nirvana scripture, why else would they stop me from cultivating outside? The Nangong family were like deflated balloons. Dispirited, deeply dispirited. The ancient Nangong family had passed down their inheritance for countless years, but in the end, the cultivation technique they were so proud of was simply trash in front of them. The Burning Sun ruler's eyes completely changed as he asked with a serious expression, "Is this great Nirvana scripture really just the beginning?" I advise the Burning Sun ruler not to think about this cultivation technique. Chu Tian walked in front of the Burning Sun ruler and said, "Of course I can give this cultivation technique to you, but if you want to cultivate the great Nirvana scripture, the most basic requirement is to have a fire phoenix source spirit. In the entire Nangong family, only Nangong Yun has this kind of capital. What use is there in obtaining this cultivation technique? This kind of strong cultivation technique, if it falls into the hands of a small family, it will only bring disaster to you." What Chu Tian said was the truth. The Burning Sun ruler had already seen it. When Nangong Yun used the great Nirvana scripture, the power of the cultivation technique would merge with the fire phoenix's power. It could be said that people without a god-level source spirit would not be able to cultivate it, and the fire phoenix was the best among god-level source spirits. Nangong Yun was simply a cultivator chosen by the heavens. It was no wonder that Chu Tian valued her so much. The Burning Sun ruler had to admit that with a single mistake in the past, the Nangong family had lost a peerless genius. Because of that one mistake in the past, this peerless genius had met a rare heaven and earth master. Under this heaven and earth master's transformation, her light would shine 10,000 times brighter in the future, leaving the so-called Burning Sun ruler far behind. One day, the Phoenix Undying family's ultimate power would awaken in her body. The departing flame Marquis' thoughts were completely different. He was filled with anger and resentment. "Ruler, The most outstanding member of our family's third generation has been destroyed. How could we just swallow this insult? Shut up. A loss is a loss. The Nangong family can afford to lose. The Burning Sun ruler angrily rebuked and then seemed to age a lot. After all, Nangong Jian was one of his most promising grandsons. He looked at Nangong Yun. I hope you remember your word. Nangong Yun nodded. I will forever be the Phoenix Undying's successor. When the departing Flame Marquis saw this, he understood the Burning Sun ruler's thoughts. Nangong Yun's future was not simple and the Burning Sun ruler could not bear to kill this genius. Humph, goodbye. The departing Flame Marquis angrily waved his sleeve and left with Nangong Jian. The refined ruler looked at the Burning Sun ruler's expression and gave a long sigh in his heart. Old man Nangong was really old. He looked at Chu Tian and his mind turned, feeling very confused. Just how many secrets was this person hiding? The Southern Summer King had a very serious expression. Although he had controlled the country for over 20 years, this kind of matter had never happened before. Chu Tian, Nangong Yun, and Miracle Commerce, there were too many things that he could not control. This made the Southern Summer King feel a bit uncomfortable. Nangong Yun's performance has made everyone look at her in a new light. The Southern Summer King did not show his worry. These complicated things could be thought through in private. He had to act normal right now. With such a genius, how could the kingdom not use her? Someone, make Nangong Yun an honorary knight of the Royal Knights. She will be rewarded with 10 soul weapons, 10 sacred pills, and 10 boxes of precious medicine. I hope that you will continue to work hard and add to the glory of Southern Xia. My king is wise. The crowd shouted one after another. It would be a waste not to take something that was given to him for free. Nangong Yun very straightforwardly thanked him. Meng Yingying took off her cloak and put it on Nangong Yun. After all, after the battle, Nangong Yun's top-quality soul weapon armor had been burnt. If this went on, her body would be exposed. Elder sister Nangong fought too beautifully. Meng Yingying looked at her with a face filled with worship. You are definitely stronger than that fellow Chu Tian right now. Ku. Chu Tian gave a cough. You little girl, do you know how to speak? Meng Yingying stuck out her tongue. That's right. The current Chu Tian did not have a high chance of winning against Nangong Yun. When this matter came to an end and everyone let out a sigh of relief, a sharp cry suddenly came from above their heads. A large group of flying demon beasts flew over at a low altitude and countless flower petals fell down. They're here. The Southern Summer King's eyes lit up and he immediately waved his hand, prepare to welcome them. The guards of honor on both sides began to play music. A series of thumping sounds came from the front. Each beat was like a heavy hammer hitting the ground. They could clearly feel the powerful strength that made people's hearts tremble. In front of everyone's curious eyes, a large group of black figures appeared in front of them. This was a cavalry unit, but they were not riding normal horses, they were not even Azure Storm Colt. They were massive magical beasts covered in pitch-black scales that looked like armor. Meng Yingying's little face was filled with shock. Aren't these earth dragons? There are so many earth dragons. Meng Qingwu also found this hard to believe. Earth dragons were level 2 demon beasts and were creatures with a dragon's bloodline. The purer the bloodline, the stronger they were. There were some earth dragons with noble bloodlines that could easily grow to level 3 demon beasts. These earth dragons' bloodlines were not high, but they were at least level 2 demon beasts, equivalent to human void soul realm cultivators. It would not be strange if there was only 1 or 2 of them. Now, the entire cavalry unit was riding earth dragons. This was an earth dragon cavalry unit that had never been heard of before. Even in the future, earth dragons were often trained to be demon beasts as mounts. They had high defense, strong innate bravery, and good endurance. They could listen to commands and were a rare mount for the battlefield. Whether it was in the field or in a siege, the earth dragon cavalry was perfect. How could Southern Xia have such a strong earth dragon cavalry unit? Southern Xia's Azure Storm cavalry was far inferior, only the Griffin Knights could fight them. Only the Griffin Knights were not large and their numbers were not as large as this Earth Dragon cavalry unit. The Griffin Knights were the Royal Palace's knights, responsible for protecting the Imperial City and the Royal Palace. Then what was going on with this unit? Chu Tian could feel the smell of blood from afar. Compared to the Griffin Knights, this Earth Dragon cavalry unit had been on the front lines for a long time, fighting against the Warhounds. Battle Dragon Army, Battle Dragon Army, the crowd began to shout. 10 years ago, when the Blazing Flame Army was annihilated, it was the Battle Dragon Army that replaced the Blazing Flame Army, defending the front lines of the northern battlefield. Otherwise, the Warhounds' nomadic cavalry would have already come to the Imperial region to plunder. In the past 10 years, the Battle Dragon Army had repelled the Warhounds several times. Their merits were outstanding and their battle results were glorious, so they had a high reputation in southern Xia. An Earth Dragon that was different from the rest slowly walked out. The bloodline of the Earth Dragon could be distinguished by its appearance. The Earth Dragon with the lowest bloodline was the black-scaled Earth Dragon, followed by the red-scaled Earth Dragon, and finally the golden-scaled Earth Dragon. In this cavalry unit, almost all of them were black-scaled Earth Dragons. This kind of Earth Dragon beast had a limited room to grow. It was almost impossible for it to become a level 3 demon beast. Right now, the Earth Dragon in the lead had dark red scales mixed with light golden veins, making it look especially dignified and noble. This was an Earth Dragon with a very pure bloodline. If it was properly nurtured, it might become a level 3 magical beast in the future. A handsome youth was standing on the back of the Earth Dragon, holding a golden spear in his hand. His dark golden armor was glowing and his golden cloak was flying high in the air, just like a bright-colored flag. His feet gently stepped off and he flew off the Earth Dragon's back. Like a golden meteor, he instantly fell to the ground, raising a layer of dust. The Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong greets His Majesty. After the departing Flame Marquis returned with his army. Wang Tianlong also returned with his army. One wave had yet to subside, and another wave had arisen. Chapter 308. The young man's voice was resonant and vigorous. Although he wasn't old, he was extremely mature, and his entire body contained a fierce might. He was like a sharp sword that killed people like scything flax, and could be unsheathed at any time. He was also like an incomparably sturdy golden bell, and his entire body was impeccable, causing others to be unable to find any flaws. Behind the Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong, there were 4-5 Ninth Awakened Soul Layer vice-generals, including Wang Tu who had been messed around with by Chu Tian. Enemies are bound to meet. This made Chu Tian and the others very depressed. Our main character is finally here, ha ha ha. The Southern Summer King threw everything to the back of his head and gave a clear laugh. General, please rise. It's been hard on you. Everyone muttered in their hearts. Could it be that they had made such a scene just for this Wang Tianlong? Wang Tianlong modestly cupped his hands in obeisance. This lowly general has neither merit nor virtue. I dare not accept such a big gesture. Chu Tian thought to himself, what are you pretending for? Didn't you lead the Earth Dragon cavalry into the city in such a high-profile manner to let the whole city know that you're back? In the end, you're pretending to be modest. General has both integrity and talent, being a pillar of the Southern Summer country. The Southern Summer King supported him with a smile, attacking the Warhounds in the north, intimidating the troops. Your achievements cannot be erased. The most rare thing is that you are only 31 years old. Your future is boundless. Your future is boundless. Wang Tianlong was neither servile nor overbearing. Guarding Southern Summer is my responsibility. Merit must be rewarded. How could this king be a heartless person? The Southern Summer King asked, I've heard that General's cultivation has increased again. I, Wang Ziyipai's subordinate, was lucky enough to break through. Wang Tianlong's reply caused all the officials to be shocked. Broke through? Wang Tianlong had always been in the Ninth Awakened Soul Layer, which meant that he had reached the peak Ninth Awakened Soul Layer. Southern Xia had gained another expert. This was indeed a joyous occasion. Wang Tianlong was well versed in both the pen and the sword. He could become a pillar of the imperial court or ensure the peace of an area. He could also serve as a general and gallop on the battlefield to cut down enemies and break formations. All right. Good. All right. The Southern Summer King called out 3 times. The general has not let down this king's expectations. The refined ruler has read this king's royal proclamation. Understood. The refined ruler took the royal proclamation from the hands of the two ceremonial officials, walked to the high platform, and raised the shining royal proclamation high up. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. One of the three rulers, the refined ruler, was personally reading the royal proclamation. This was a bit too much. The Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong, taking command at a young age, fighting against the war hounds for 10 years, fighting over 90 large and small battles, killing over 800,000 war hounds, establishing an indelible military merit for Southern Xia and becoming a role model for the younger generation of Southern Xia. This king announces that Wang Tianlong will be granted a second-grade military marquis title, with the title of Heroic Martial Marquis. In the imperial region, Kang State, and war hounds, there will be a total of 42 cities within 8,000 miles, with a total population of 30 million. They will all be under the direct control of the Heroic Martial Marquis. Boom! The ceremonial music rang out. Everyone cheered. There was indeed a reason for such a magnificent lineup. After so many years, Southern Xia finally had another marquis. The Heroic Martial Marquis, Wang Tianlong, was in his early 30s and was ranked among the Southern Summer Marquis. Reaching the peak of power was something rarely seen in the history of Southern Xia. But towards the Southern Summer King's decision, whether it was the ministers, the generals, or the normal citizens, no one objected to it. Wang Tianlong was a general with real power. He had been rushing to the battlefield since he was in his 20s, and he had made great contributions in the past 10 years. His own strength was enough to rank him as a marquis, and this time, he was bestowed a marquis land. Thank you, my king. Wang Tu and the other deputy generals already knew this result. When they saw that their young master was officially conferred the title of marquis, they excitedly knelt down and kowtowed. The Wang clan had been conferred marquis 3 times, walking on the path of glory once more. The Heroic Martial Marquis was only 30 years old. In the next 70 years, he would be able to lead the Wang clan to glory, becoming an illustrious existence second only to the 3 great clans of Southern Xia. Wang Tianlong gave a slight bow to receive the royal proclamation before respectfully bowing to the 3 rulers and the Southern Summer King. From the beginning to the end, there was not much change in his expression. He was calm and composed, like an old man who had seen through fame and fortune. The Southern Summer King announced the beginning of the title ceremony. Another marquis was added to the Southern Summer 8 marquises. Another of the Southern Summer 8 states had been added. The Heroic Martial Marquis, Wang Tianlong, received his marquis seal in front of countless envious and praising gazes. This was the 9th marquis of the kingdom, directly becoming a second-grade military marquis. His status was even higher than Central State's Shenfenghu and Qing State's Greenwood Marquis. The Heroic Martial Marquis has been conferred, the entire nation will celebrate. I wish Southern Xia a long life. The Royal Palace banquet was to celebrate the Heroic Martial Marquis conferment, with the Heroic Martial Marquis being the main character. This young man had been conferred the title of Marquis, full of vigor. With an army in his hands, he was full of vigor. What more could he ask for in life? Everyone congratulated the Heroic Martial Marquis and the ministers were even more courteous. Even the scholars on Chu Tian's side had to respect Wang Tianlong. These scholars, who looked like mad dogs, were actually only concerned about the matter and not the people. Wang Tianlong's contributions to Southern Xia were clear to all. He was able to guard the front lines at such a young age, with outstanding military merits, making people worship him. Now that he was a marquis, his status naturally rose. They understood. The calm martial ruler had said that the Wang family was Chu Tian's biggest problem. This fellow was simply invulnerable. He had an ancient royal family background, a cultivation talent comparable to Dongfang Haoran, and a military strategy comparable to the calm martial ruler. He had outstanding military merits, a great reputation, and now he had become the Heroic Martial Marquis. This person had a very calm personality, not like Chu Xinghe who showed off his abilities. He was not like normal geniuses who were arrogant and despotic, so it was not easy to deal with him. Meng Yingying was very happy attending the royal banquet, but now she felt very uncomfortable. Meng Qingwu felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. Recently the Wang family had been cursed by the citizens, mainly because Wang Tianlong had not returned to Imperial City. Now the situation was completely different. Not only had Wang Tianlong returned, he had also been conferred the title of Heroic Martial Marquis. The Wang family was filled with pride and all the negative influences disappeared with the conferment. In the near future, the heroic martial Marquis Wang Tianlong would become the new favorite of Imperial City and Chu Tian's limelight would fall. Meng Qingwu knit her brows when she thought of this. She felt that everything had been planned. The Southern Summer King had purposely promoted the heroic martial Marquis to suppress Chu Tian's arrogance and give Chu Tian a large amount of pressure. Chu Tian's miracle commerce was only a company. The heroic martial Marquis Battle Dragon Army was the pillar supporting Southern Xia. If the heroic martial Marquis and Chu Tian fought, it was hard to say which side the citizens would stand on. Although Meng Qingwu suspected that the Southern Summer King was deliberately targeting Chu Tian, she had no reason to doubt him. Whether it was Wang Tianlong's strength, fame, contributions, or qualifications, he had been conferred the title of Marquis, so there was nothing to criticize about it. The royal banquet was halfway through and the Southern Summer King raised his cup. The heroic martial Marquis has just been conferred the title and the state has not yet been established. If you have any requests, just ask this king. As long as it can be satisfied, I will definitely satisfy you. This general is leading an army, so the state is useless and it is dispensable. Wang Tianlong gave a deep bow to the Southern Summer King. There are two small matters that I hope your majesty can help with. Oh, what is it? The first matter is that there have been rumors in Imperial City recently. The Wang family's several hundred-year reputation has been tarnished, so this general would like a chance to wash away this insult. The Southern Summer King's expression slightly changed. Heroic martial Marquis, you are. The second matter is that this general has been away for many years, so I have no time to manage the family's internal affairs. Because of this disturbance, the elders of the family have discussed it and hope that this general will marry a wife. So, I hope your majesty will bestow this marriage and allow the Miracle Commerce chairman Meng Qingwu to marry this general. Meng Qingwu's fists suddenly clenched. She never thought that Wang Tianlong would make this kind of request to the Southern Summer King. Chu Tian pulled back the angry Meng Yingying, eat your food. It's fine, I'll take care of it. Meng Yingying did not have any status. If she jumped out to speak, it would only attract trouble. The Southern Summer King would not agree to this kind of request, otherwise he would be completely offending Chu Tian. With Chu Tian's personality, it was even possible for him to leave Southern Xia. The calm martial ruler and the great scholar would not agree to this. The Southern Summer King revealed an awkward expression. This king can send a royal proclamation to the world to remove the Wang family's influence, but the second matter. The royal proclamation represents the king's words. How could it be casually sent out? Wang Tianlong said, my clan has been humiliated, so my clan will take revenge. Wang Tu cupped his fists as he walked out and arrogantly said to Chu Tian, Miracle Commerce has insulted me for a long time, causing the Wang family to suffer large losses. My request is not high, as long as you kneel down and apologize to me and accept the Wang family's marriage proposal, this matter will be over. I, Wang Tu, and the Wang family will guarantee that we will not pursue this matter. Once again, everyone's eyes fell onto the Miracle Commerce people. Chu Tian swirled the amber wine in his cup. What if I don't agree? Wang Tu said with a cold smile, don't agree? Then you'll take back your reputation as a martial artist. Chu Tian put down the wine cup. What do you want to do? Wang Tu looked at Chu Tian. I want to challenge you. Everyone instantly went into an uproar. Jiyu Qianqiu angrily stood up. General Wang Tu is a respected ninth awakened soul layer cultivator, publicly challenging a junior. This is clearly bullying the weak. Is this the so-called martial artist style? You are not taking back your reputation, rather you are humiliating yourselves. No matter who wins or loses, you will be laughed at by the world in the end. The calm martial ruler also said, using strength to bully the weak, losing the style of a great general. Using strength to bully others, you have let down my king's grace. Wang Tu's face turned green and white. The calm martial ruler's attitude was very clear. If you did this, You would be going against your own status and not giving the Southern Summer King face. How could the calm martial ruler not give face? Whether it was the battle dragon army, the departing flame army, or the storm cavalry, they were all under the calm martial ruler's command. They were only responsible for their own battlefields, and the calm martial ruler was the highest military commander in southern Xia. Wang too was not willing, but the enmity of his mount being killed and his reputation being tarnished, if he couldn't take it back, how could he let go of this hatred? If he didn't take this chance, with Chu Tian's growing status, it would be hard for him to get another chance in the future. Whether he could take back his reputation or not, it didn't matter now. As long as he took this chance to teach Chu Tian a lesson, or even personally cripple him, that was enough. Challenge miracle commerce? A mysterious black-robed woman stood up. She had a graceful figure with perfect and alluring curves. She was a mature woman with an excellent figure. From under the black veil, a cold voice came out, "Fine, I'll fight you." This was the first time everyone noticed the mysterious black-veiled woman. Chen Bingyu had always been low-key. Chen Bingyu had always been wearing a black veil, looking like she didn't eat the food of mortals, even at the banquet. Chen Bingyu had been sitting beside Chu Tian the entire time, not drinking a single drop of food or drinking a single drop of wine. She didn't even say half a word, she was simply like an ice sculpture. Now that Chen Bingyu had appeared, a cold aura suddenly filled the hall, making everyone's hearts filled with shock. Such a cold current. Such a strong aura. This person's cultivation was unfathomable. The Burning Sun ruler said in a shocked voice, "You're Chen Bingyu?" The Burning Sun ruler was not too clear on this woman's background. She seemed to be an outsider who had wandered into the southern summer imperial city. Because she had a shocking talent, she was recruited by the Nangong family a long time ago. She had always been a guest official with the Nangong family, finally being promoted to an official, having a status equal to a senior elder. Only the Nangong family all had fire-attributed source spirits, but Chen Bingyu's source spirit and cultivation technique were both ice-attributed. Chen Bingyu did not receive any cultivation technique pointers from the Nangong family, she only completed missions for the Nangong family to obtain cultivation resources, cultivating by herself from start to finish. Even like this, she had reached the true soul realm. Her cultivation talent was not inferior to the imperial city's two pride. When Chen Bingyu entered the true soul realm, she finally reached a bottleneck. In order to find a way to break through, she proposed leaving the Nangong family. The Burning Sun ruler felt that Chen Bingyu was a talent and had a lot of room for growth, so he agreed to Chen Bingyu's request. He never would have thought that after Chen Bingyu left Imperial City for so many years, when she returned, she would become a bodyguard by Chu Tian's side. From this aura, could she be in the peak ninth awakened soul layer? The Burning Sun ruler revealed a look of shock. Her growth speed was too fast. Chapter 309. There were two reasons why Chen Bingyu left the Nangong family. The first reason, which was also the main reason, was naturally for his own cultivation. The second reason, although it was a secondary reason, it was not a small one. That was because Chen Bingyu was a guest official of the Blazing Flame Marquis branch. When the Blazing Flame Marquis died in battle, Chen Bingyu had personally witnessed the Blazing Flame Marquis' trusted aides being stripped of their family's core power and even being sent to different places. Even a talented person like Nangong Yun was not an exception. Chen Bingyu felt a chill in her heart, so she said goodbye to the Burning Sun ruler. The Burning Sun ruler was very clear on the family's situation. On one hand, he was thinking of Chen Bingyu, and on the other hand, he wanted to quickly settle the family's situation. So, he easily agreed to Chen Bingyu and did not give her any restrictions, allowing her to completely separate from the Nangong family. But towards the Burning Sun ruler, Chen Bingyu was still a bit grateful. If she had not been a guest official of the Nangong family and received the Burning Sun ruler's attention, Chen Bingyu would not have had enough resources to reach the true soul realm. She would not have had the chance to meet Chu Tian in Central State and follow by Chu Tian's side, becoming Chu Tian's right-hand man. Chen Bingyu simply cupped her hands to the Burning Sun ruler, "Greetings to the Burning Sun ruler." The Burning Sun ruler knew that Chen Bingyu was by Chu Tian's side, but seeing it with his own eyes, he was still very shocked. This kind of cold and arrogant girl was actually accepted by Chu Tian as a guard. This Chu Tian was truly outstanding. Chen Bingyu's cold eyes stared at Wang Tu. Tell me, how do you want to fight? Wang Tu's expression turned even more constipated. Wang Tu had guessed that Miracle Commerce had a very strong expert, but he never would have thought that this person would be this strong. She was actually in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. The most terrifying thing was that this girl was still young, only a few years older than Wang Tianlong. She was also a genius that was not inferior to the imperial city's two prides. Why was she willing to be a bodyguard by Chu Tian's side? It was really puzzling. It was hard to stop riding a tiger at this time. If he still had the dual-winged poison dragon mount, he had confidence in fighting a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. Now that his mount had been killed, his battle strength had been greatly reduced. He had no confidence in fighting Chen Bingyu. Chen Bingyu's cold eyes did not change, but it gave off an aggressive feeling, only daring to challenge people with lower cultivations and cowering in front of people with higher cultivations. Are the Southern Summer generals as weak as you? When these words sounded, Wang family's people all stood up in anger. This was simply a public humiliation. Ha ha ha, why does Sister Bing have to make things difficult for this fellow? The other party is challenging me, not Miracle Commerce, so there's no need for Sister Bing to make a move personally. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Chu Tian laughed and walked over. I can accept the challenge of the Wang family, but I have one request. Wang Tu was delighted. What do you want? The Wang family can challenge me. Chu Tian pointed at Wang Tu, but you are not qualified. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Wang Tu was still a Southern Summer general. How could he not have the qualifications? Chu Tian did not give them a chance to speak. I have never slandered you. I know what I have done clearly. I will accept the Wang family's challenge, but I will not accept the so-called reputation. As for a waste that doesn't dare admit what he did, why should I fight him? Then who do you want to fight? If you have the guts, fight me. Wang Tianlong and the other vice-generals all stood up. You are not qualified. Chu Tian's words shocked everyone to death. Then he pointed at Wang Tianlong, the heroic martial marquis. Do you dare fight me? Chen Bingyu was stunned. The Meng Qingwu sisters were stunned. The Southern Summer King, the three rulers, and everyone else were all stunned. Everyone suspected that there was a problem with their ears. Chu Tian had jumped over Wang Tu and avoided the other prizes to challenge the heroic martial marquis. Did he know how strong the heroic martial marquis was? The heroic martial marquis had just broken through to the peak 9th awakened soul layer not long ago, but his battle strength was not at the bottom of the Southern Summer marquises. He could even be considered one of the best. Wang Tianlong was known as one of the two prides of Imperial City. He was a genius and had been on the battlefield for many years. When he was in the 9th awakened soul layer, he had fought with the Warhounds tribe's peak 9th awakened soul layer experts several times. This kind of incomparably strong person, with Chu Tian's trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivation challenging him, wasn't this the same as sending himself to death? Wang Tu was also stunned. Could it be that Chu Tian knew that he would lose no matter who he fought, so he decided to challenge someone with a greater reputation so that he could lose with more dignity? If this was the case, why would he personally come out? Wouldn't it be better to let Chen Bingyu block this calamity? Wang Tianlong straightforwardly stood up. The Battle Dragon Army has never rejected a challenge. President Chu has taken the initiative to challenge me, so how could I not fight? If I win, you will satisfy the Wang family's request, including handing over Meng Qingwu. The heroic martial marquis agreed. Meng Qingwu's face sunk and she tightly clenched her fists, feeling very angry. Chu Tian laughed and said, "The young miss is not my personal property, not to mention that I will not use her as a gambling stake. If I lose, I will give you the shares of Miracle Commerce." Meng Qingwu's body slightly trembled. Chu Tian had close to 70% of Miracle Commerce's shares. He would rather hand over half of Miracle Commerce than call out Meng Qingwu. It had to be known that the current Miracle Commerce was not the same as before. Everyone's eyes turned red. Chu Tian was equivalent to giving the company to the Wang family. Chu Tian then added, "If I win, I want you to give up your heroic martial marquis title." "All right. Wang Tianlong agreed. You two are pillars of the country, why are you fighting over a small misunderstanding? The calm martial ruler mediated. This is a great celebration. This ruler does not want it to become a joke to the people of the country. Jiyu Qianqiu broke out in a cold sweat and said, this old man also thinks the calm martial ruler's words are reasonable. Can this kind of gambling stake be casually placed? Even if you don't care, you still have to consider the impact. Calm martial ruler, great scholar, what are you worried about? The refined ruler gave a few soft laughs. Scholar Chu is fighting the strong as the weak, so he must be very confident. Why don't you open everyone's eyes? Even if you lose, you can leave behind a story of a brave warrior. This is an unprecedented gamble. This ruler thinks that as long as we don't harm each other's lives, this kind of competition is in line with the southern Shia style. The burning sun ruler tightly knit his brows. He felt that this matter was wrong, but he didn't know who to help. Actually, the burning sun ruler had a bit of selfishness in his heart. If Chu Tian fell because of this, wouldn't Nangong Yun have to return to her family? The Nangong family had not recovered in the last 10 years, and the third generation's most outstanding Nangong Jian had a hard time recovering. If Nangong Yun was willing to return, she could revive her family. The Southern Summer King weighed the pros and cons. The refined ruler's words are reasonable. As long as we don't harm each other's lives, this bet can be reduced a bit, but there is no need to be so extreme. The Southern Summer King wanted to see a balance between the two sides. Letting Wang Tianlong rebalance Imperial City's situation would make Chu Tian restrain himself. Moreover, with Wang Tianlong suppressing miracle commerce, the royal family's requests for miracle commerce would be easier to negotiate. If Chu Tian was reckless and lost miracle commerce, the Wang family would not be able to eat it and they would not dare eat it alone. The Southern Summer King could take advantage of this. This was a large piece of fatty meat. A battle between Chu Tian and Wang Tianlong? It could only be treated as a joke. Even Central State's Shen Fenghu was not a match for the heroic martial marquis. The heroic martial marquis was at least in the top 3 of the 9 marquises. The old royal family's strong bloodline and inheritance allowed Wang Tianlong to look down on geniuses of the same level. A trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivator, no matter how monstrous or talented he was, he could not cross this gap. Although he did not know where Chu Tian's confidence came from. But there would not be any suspense in this battle. The reason why Nangong Yun was able to defeat Nangong Jian was largely due to her cultivation technique. This cultivation technique was able to nullify fire-attributed attacks, and it could even absorb the opponent's attacks for her own use. If her opponent was ice-attributed, it would be hard to say who would win. Chu Tian would definitely lose this battle, but whether it was Chu Tian or the heroic martial marquis, they were both very important people. The Southern Summer King allowed them to compete in secret, but he would not allow them to fight with their lives on the line. With the calm martial ruler here, there was no need to fear any accidents happening. The Royal Palace's arena. Wang Tianlong held a dark golden spear as he walked forward. This spear was not a normal weapon, rather it was a weapon passed down from the old royal family. It was called the Dragon Aura Spear. The materials for this spear were said to have been dug out from a giant dragon's cave. The giant dragon had lived in the cave for over 100 years and its dragon aura was constantly sprayed on the walls of the cave, melting the metal ores and refining it, finally forming the dragon aura iron. The dragon breath iron was a precious grade 3 half-saint material and was obtained by the royal family of the Grand Xia dynasty. The royal family of the Grand Xia dynasty sought out a famous foreign craftsman and finally succeeded in forging an extremely powerful half-spiritual soul tool, which was this dragon breath spear. This spear's might could not compare to a true soul-contracting weapon, but it was not something a normal soul-contracting weapon could compare to. It said that this spear contained the power of a dragon's aura. Each stab of the spear could easily destroy an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy fire defensive cultivation technique. 3 years ago, Wang Tianlong had used his 9th awakened soul layer cultivation to kill a peak 9th awakened soul layer warhound's expert with a single stab. Other than his own strength that allowed him to jump levels, a large part of it was because of the might of this spear. What did Chu Tian count for? Under the dragon aura spear, there would be nothing left. Chu Tian's defeat was inevitable. The only suspense was whether the calm martial ruler would be able to save him in time. The calm martial ruler's strength was the strongest in the southern summer country, so killing Chu Tian under his eyes would be a very difficult matter. But the battlefield was constantly changing. Once he killed Chu Tian with a single stab, Wang Tianlong did not believe that the southern summer king would dismiss him because of this. Why isn't Chu Tian here yet? He issued the challenge himself. Would he be afraid at this crucial moment? While everyone was discussing this, Chu Tian was wearing a top-grade soul-contracting armor and holding the Netherworld sword as he walked forward. There was a white fox on his shoulder and 18 black-clothed people following behind him. Wang Tu angrily said, "What is the meaning of this? Could it be that you can borrow external strength in a duel?" Chu Tian looked at Wang Tu with disdain. "Dare I ask General Wang Tu, have you ever used a mount in a duel before?" As soon as Wang Tu heard the word mount, his eyes spat fire. "This general and my mount have been working together for more than 20 years. I've long since become one with my mount. My martial techniques and combat techniques are in perfect harmony. Soldiers and their mounts are a single entity, so why can't I bring it along?" Chu Tian rubbed the little fox's head and said, "This spirit beast has grown up with me and we have already established a spirit beast contract. We are already connected by flesh and blood, so we are a single entity." The little fox spat out a mouthful of spittle. "A ghost is connected by flesh and blood." Chu Tian ignored the little fox's expression. "Is it wrong for me to bring it to the battle? Since you have established a spirit beast contract, the spirit beast is a part of a cultivator's weapon and also a part of a cultivator's strength. Bringing a spirit beast to the battle is reasonable." The Southern Summer King sat on the platform and his eyes swept over the 18 black-clothed people behind Chu Tian. "Only, letting these people participate in the battle is against the rules of the duel. My king, please take a look." Chu Tian picked up the bell and shook it. The 18 black-clothed people lifted their robes, and when everyone saw the true appearance of these black-clothed people, they were instantly stunned. How were these people? Each one of them had bulging muscles, like they were experts. Their skin was completely black, like they had keratinized shells. Their eyes were hollow and only had a weak blood-red glow. On each monster's body, there were large amounts of blood veins. These blood veins were very small and were like tattoos on their bodies. If one looked carefully with a magnifying glass, they would find that there was a kind of glowing blood flowing in the center of these blood veins. These are Yin Corpse guards refined by Xiao Xiao. They do not have their own thoughts and are completely controlled by me. Chu Tian shook the bell and used his spiritual energy to control the Yin Corpses. The Yin Corpses all took a step forward at the same time. Their movements were uniform without any differences, just like a precise machine. They are only tools. Chapter 310. Chu Tian wasn't a fool. Would he really go and humiliate himself? How could he fight a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert with his 6th awakened soul layer strength? Chu Tian did not borrow any external force, but he still had a way to win. That was to use his main source spirit regardless of the price. Ever since Chu Tian came to this world, he had faced many so-called experts without any fear. He could even be considered arrogant and despotic, but the biggest thing he relied on was his main source spirit. Regardless of the price, regardless of the backlash, regardless of the consequences. Chu Tian released his main source spirit and opened his 10th eye. He could even fight against the 3 rulers. The problem was that it was too dangerous for Chu Tian. He wouldn't do it unless it was a life and death situation. But other than this special strength, if a 6th awakened soul layer cultivator fought against a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator, their chances of winning would be very small or even impossible. So Chu Tian could only borrow other powers like the little fox or the divine blood Yin Corpses. So it's a Yin Corpse. What a strange refining method. These Yin Corpses are tools and weapons. Since it's like this, we'll allow them to be used in the arena. The Southern Summer King and the Wang family did not have any objections. First, these Yin Corpse puppets that did not have their own consciousness were used as support tools. It was like a mechanical master using mechanical beasts. It did not violate the rules of the arena. Secondly, to Wang Tianlong and the Wang family, the Yin Corpse's aura wasn't weak, but it wasn't strong enough to defeat Wang Tianlong, so the Wang family didn't care at all. No matter what tricks Chu Tian played, this absolute difference in strength was not something he could make up for. The calm martial ruler personally acted as the judge. Clang! The duel bell rang. Wang Tianlong stood motionless like a statue, looking at Chu Tian with a cold and indifferent gaze. President Chu dares to provoke me in public, his courage is commendable. But with your strength, even if you add the yin corpses, you still have no chance of winning. Chu Tian's expression was relaxed. If you know me well enough, then you'll understand that I'm best at creating miracles. The more impossible something is, the more possible it is in my hands. So, please feel free to make your move, heroic martial marquis. I'm really looking forward to it. Wang Tianlong smiled coldly. I think we should ask President Chu to make the first move, lest you lose on the spot before you even make a move. Chu Tian held the netherworld sword in his right hand and a flame appeared on the blade while his left hand shook the soul-absorbing bell. Then I won't be polite. Releasing his spiritual energy, the 18 divine blood yin corpses were like awakened statues, instantly forming an all-like formation. The yin corpses in the back sent their energy to the yin corpses in front, accumulating layer upon layer of energy. Then the last 2 yin corpses poured their energy into the yin corpse in the front. Boom! A wave of energy rippled through the ground. The originally sturdy stone floor of the dueling arena began to ripple like water. First, a wave of water-like energy surged out, pushing the earth and gravel in all directions. Insignificant skill. Wang Tianlong stood in the same spot without moving. He gently raised the dragon aura spear and gently slammed it into the ground. A hot dragon aura flame instantly covered the surroundings, burning away the energy coming at him. However, at this time, the 18 yin corpses finished condensing their energy. The yin corpse in the front turned blood red and an incomparably strong energy began to gather in its body. It was like a storm that could explode at any moment. The energy released by the 17 yin corpses had all been poured into a single yin corpse. How was this done? This did not make sense at all. Everyone's spirit energy was different. If a large amount of spirit energy was poured into another person's body, it would only harm that person. Moreover, even if the yin corpses had the same energy. But with the energy of the 18 yin corpses gathered, even a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert would explode, but this yin corpse did not show any signs of exploding at all. Wang Tianlong's right hand reached out and slowly raised the dragon aura spear. He couldn't help being alert. That blood-red yin corpse raised its palms and a storm of blood-red energy gathered, instantly forming a ball of energy. This ball of energy went from small to large, releasing a blood-red glow like a sun. Then it went from big to small and the entire compression process created a large pressure, causing the surrounding ground to cave in. Everyone was stunned. This ball of energy was not small. Not only did it contain a strong corpse poison, it also contained an unbelievable strength. It came from the yin corpse's divine blood and was majestic and vast. It was something that had never been heard of before. The calm martial ruler was also very surprised when he felt the energy condensed by the yin corpses. This energy is very special, it is something this ruler has never seen before. The refined ruler nodded. Chu Tian has quite a few secrets on him. The Southern Summer King tightly knit his brows. What was going on? The strength of the 18 yin corpses was around the peak 7th awakened soul layer. Although they were not weak, with just this bit of strength, it was impossible for them to condense this kind of strong energy. Wang Tianlong could not sit still. This energy was very strong and it was still growing stronger. It had already reached the point where it could threaten Wang Tianlong. The dragon aura spear suddenly rose up. Su. The moment it rose up from the ground, it was like a beam of light shooting into the sky, instantly piercing through the clouds. Wang Tianlong's feet stomped on the ground and he charged into the sky. He held the dragon aura spear in the air and from 100 meters in the air, he was like a meteor as he suddenly shot down with the spear. His source spirit was released. It was a coiling dragon spear. This dragon aura spear was supported by his source spirit and it seemed like it was alive. It was instantly covered in a layer of dark gold, as if it was no longer a dead object, but rather a flood dragon in Wang Tianlong's hand. The yin corpses threw the highly compressed energy ball forward. Wang Tianlong's shocking attack directly stabbed into the blood-red energy ball. "Open for me!" A dragon's roar rang out. It was majestic, shocking, and filled everyone with amazement. The moment the dragon aura spear stabbed out, it released an incomparably hot red dragon's breath. Wherever the dragon's breath went, even the air was distorted from the heat. Even if it was steel that met this hot aura, it would still be instantly evaporated. This kind of strong aura was sucked into the invisible spear glow. It could be said that its strength had increased by several times, forming an incomparably large spiral. It attempted to use the most violent and direct method to tear apart the Yin corpse's energy and then kill Chu Tian. The red shockwave and the dragon's breath spear glow collided. Berserk energy rippled out, and the terrain of the arena instantly crumbled. It was like two giant ships colliding with each other at an incomparably fast speed, creating a loud explosion that made people's hairs stand on end. Wang Tianlong was confident that the dragon's breath could burn everything. No matter what kind of energy it was, it could easily swallow it and instantly dissolve it. But the reality was beyond his expectations. The energy released by these Yin corpses was not just pure energy, it contained a very strange energy that even the dragon's breath could not burn. Wang Tianlong could not pierce through this energy and instantly felt a strong rebound. "This is bad." Wang Tianlong flew into the air and prepared to retreat. The blood-red energy turned into a giant fist. He chased after Wang Tianlong with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. His fist smashed into Wang Tianlong's body, and the violent force directly crushed Wang Tianlong into the ground. The place where Wang Tianlong was hit sank at least 10 meters into the ground, and the surrounding area was a mess. Everyone cried out in shock. The heroic martial Marquis had been smashed into the ground. The heroic martial Marquis was in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Chu Tian had used the combined attack of the Yin corpses to make the heroic martial Marquis suffer a large loss. It was no wonder that Chu Tian dared to challenge Wang Tianlong. The strength of these 18 Yin corpses was stronger than he imagined. Peng! The ground on the other side shattered. Wang Tianlong broke through the ground. At this moment, Wang Tianlong was in a very sorry state. That high-grade armor of his was already broken and his eyes were filled with rage. He had been smashed into the ground at the start of the battle. This was simply a great insult to Wang Tianlong. Flood Dragon Strike. With a sweep of the dragon aura spear, several streams of energy intertwined and shot at Chu Tian like several flood dragons. If this attack hit its mark, Chu Tian would probably be blasted to pieces on the spot. The 18 Yin corpses raised their hands at the same time and a bloodnet-like energy barrier instantly appeared in front of them. The dragon aura spear's power hit the energy barrier and was immediately bounced back by an unknown force. Wang Tianlong's speed reached its limit. He held the dragon aura spear in the air and threw himself at the energy barrier, causing the entire energy barrier to shatter. Truly worthy of being the heroic martial Marquis. This burst of strength was shocking. Die. After Wang Tianlong shattered the energy barrier, he stabbed his spear at Chu Tian. At this time, a Yin corpse jumped up and used its body to block the attack. Wang Tianlong stabbed the Yin corpse and the fierce strength crushed the Yin corpse into the ground. Under this kind of attack, the Yin corpses should have been crushed. Chu Tian's Yin corpses were very strong, but the 18 Yin corpses were a whole. If one of them was killed, their strength would be greatly reduced and it would be a large loss to miracle commerce. The Yin corpses charged forward one by one. Wang Tianlong's spear was like a dragon, it was almost watertight, each strike sending a Yin corpse flying. The Wang family was very excited seeing this. Chu Tian had killed Wang Tu's mount and Wang Tianlong had killed his 18 Yin corpses. This could be considered paying back the debt. Peng, peng, peng. All the Yin corpses in the way were sent flying. Yin corpses were Yin corpses in the end, it was impossible for them to learn cultivation techniques, so their fighting style was very simple. How could they deal with a top-level expert like Wang Tianlong? Your Yin corpses are only SOSO. When Wang Tianlong was prepared to stab the last one, the Yin corpse suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood that fell onto Wang Tianlong's body. Although Wang Tianlong managed to send the Yin corpse flying with his spear, he still felt a strong force fall onto his body, making him feel dizzy as he fell to the ground from the sky. This is large amounts of blood veins that were hard to see with the naked eye. They were as thin as hair, but there was a large amount of them, almost covering Wang Tianlong's entire body. It was this strength that was suppressing the strength in Wang Tianlong's body. Wang Tianlong wanted to take a step forward, but he was surprised to find that the ground was also covered in blood veins, forming a complex and profound array. The yin corpses that had been hit began to stand up one by one. Each yin corpse had a hole or depression, but with the effect of the divine blood, these injuries could be seen with the naked eye, finally appearing in front of him in perfect condition. These yin corpses were too sturdy. Normal ninth awakened soul layer cultivators would find it hard to resist the dragon aura spear, but these yin corpses were pierced by the dragon aura spear. Not only were they not torn apart, their bodies were completely intact. Even if they were damaged, they could automatically recover. Were these things immortal? This was the power of the divine blood. A spiritual god was an immortal existence. Even if their bodies were destroyed, they could still instantly recover. Although these yin corpses had only been injected with a little divine blood, they still had a strong recovery ability. As long as they were not completely destroyed, they had a way to recover. The divine blood seal covered Wang Tianlong's body. It was enough to seal a part of Wang Tianlong's strength. Wang Tianlong gave an angry roar. When he was prepared to break the array, the 18 yin corpses formed a formation and instantly surrounded Wang Tianlong. They used some kind of profound movement technique to move the array, making Wang Tianlong hallucinate. He almost had a feeling of not knowing where to start. Meng Qingwu and Meng Yingying revealed excited expressions when they saw this. The yin corpses were beginning to form an array. These yin corpses' individual strength couldn't withstand a single blow from Wang Tianlong, but once they formed an array to attack, the result would be completely different. Even if Wang Tianlong was strong, wanting to break this array would not be easy. Chapter 3:11. Wang Tianlong had suffered several large losses before he met Chu Tian. The 18 divine blood yin corpses were too strong. Although they could not pose a threat individually, the 18 peak 7th awakened soul layer divine blood yin corpses were enough to tie down a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. The most troublesome part was that after being refined with the divine blood, the yin corpse's physique was extremely tough. Although Wang Tianlong's wild attacks could cause damage, to an undead like the yin corpses, a few holes weren't fatal at all. Their divine blood had an automatic regenerative effect, so it was very hard to kill them. Dang dang dang. Chu Tian shook the bell, constantly releasing his spiritual energy. A seal appeared between the eyebrows of the 18 yin corpses and each yin corpse released a red glow. There was a chain of energy connecting the yin corpses, instantly forming a whole body. Blood World Contract. This was a special incantation technique that Chu Tian had developed after studying the ancient god's memory fragments and according to the nature of the god's blood. The 18 divine blood yin corpses used the divine blood in their bodies to share the damage. In other words, even if they were hit by Wang Tianlong's full strength attack, the other 17 yin corpses would instantly transfer a part of their power, making the power that was enough to kill the yin corpses no longer a threat. The divine blood yin corpses had a strong physique that was hard to destroy. Now that the energy was scattered by the seal, it was even harder to destroy the yin corpses. The dragon aura spear danced in the air, shooting out spear lights. Once the yin corpses were hit, they would release a barrier made of threads of blood. Countless threads of blood spread in all directions, allowing the energy to spread to the other yin corpses. The yin corpses were not injured by the heroic martial Marquis attack. Chu Tian said with a smile, "Strange, Sir Heroic Martial Marquis is becoming weaker and weaker. Could it be that he can't even beat a few trivial yin corpses? If that's the case, then it's really disappointing." The divine blood yin corpses' attacks would create a blood curse. The more blood curses Wang Tianlong received, the more his strength would be restricted and the lower his chances of winning would be. People could not help but be suspicious. Could Wang Tianlong really not fight against the yin corpses controlled by Chu Tian? The Wang family members all had pale faces. The Southern Summer King also had an ugly expression as he tightly clenched his fists. Chu Tian had collected quite a bit of information, but he lacked enough understanding of the yin corpses. From the current information, Chu Tian had publicly used the yin corpses twice. The first time was to deal with Prince Qianlang in South Sky City, and the second time was to deal with the Shangguan family's envoy. The yin corpses were clearly very weak at the beginning. In such a short time, how could his strength grow faster and faster than Chu Tian himself? It was too unbelievable, it was simply unimaginable. The divine blood yin corpse had too many special abilities, it could suppress any expert in the peak ninth awakened soul layer. This was not the way to go on. Wang Tianlong shouted. The dragon aura spear turned into a ray of light as it shot at the yin corpses. Suddenly it turned into a flood dragon, circling around the yin corpses, avoiding them one by one. Then it plunged into the ground, only to see a mound in the arena, as if there was a dragon moving through the ground. Go around the yin corpses to deal with Chu Tian? That was a good idea. Flame demon transformation. Chu Tian turned into a giant flame demon and his strength broke through the illustrious soul realm, directly reaching the true soul realm. A giant flaming sword slashed at the ground and the flood dragon came out of the ground, fiercely attacking it. Peng! His body trembled. A third of the flames on Chu Tian's body were blown away by the attack. That terrifying strength caused Chu Tian to stagger back 3-4 steps and the starlight protecting his body began to crack. So strong. A casual attack had this kind of might. Chu Tian did not doubt that even if he used the flame demon transformation, if he fought Wang Tianlong head-on, he would not be able to block 3 rounds. Of course, Chu Tian's own invention, the flame demon transformation, also shocked the audience. A trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivator could use this move to block the attack of a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. This was definitely something to be proud of. After the flood dragon's attack failed, it immediately wanted to turn back. Since you've delivered yourself to me, then I won't be polite. Chu Tian's sword cut down the dragon aura spear. Then he activated the flame demon transformation and grabbed the dragon aura spear, not letting it fly back. Chu Tian looked at the dragon aura spear and said with a laugh, "Good weapon." The dragon aura spear's quality was close to a soul-contracting soul weapon. The only thing it lacked was that this weapon did not have its own consciousness, but because of this weapon would not resist or choose its master. So it could be accepted by Chu Tian without any politeness. The heroic martial Marquis had been disarmed. Everyone's eyes almost popped out. The heroic martial Marquis thought he could kill Chu Tian with this attack, but he never thought that he would go for wool and come home shorn. After the heroic martial Marquis lost the dragon aura spear, could he still block the attacks of the 18 yin corpses? Wang Tianlong was filled with rage, but he did not lose his mind. He quickly took out a scroll from his chest. "I'll let you see the Wang family's secret technique." Chu Tian's divine sense could feel that the scroll contained a bloodline and spatial energy, so it was not a normal item. He saw Wang Tianlong bite his finger and smear it on the scroll, activating it. The scroll opened in the air and was filled with talismans, activating it in a single breath. Ayo! A black hole-like space appeared in the arena, and a large dark red figure leaped out from it. Its body that weighed more than 10 tons landed heavily on the ground, causing the entire arena to tremble. Then, its 4 limbs fiercely stomped on the ground, and it suddenly rushed towards Chu Tian's direction. Earth Dragon! Everyone was shocked to see this. It was unknown what secret technique Wang Tianlong had used to summon the Earth Dragon mount to his side. This Earth Dragon's body was dark red and the edges of its scales were dark gold. Its bloodline was very pure and its strength was close to the peak 9th awakened soul layer. A single Wang Tianlong was already hard to deal with. Now that he had summoned the Earth Dragon mount, how could Chu Tian defend himself? Under Chu Tian's control, a chain appeared in each of the divine blood yin corpses' hands. They shot out at the Earth Dragon, trying to lock it down. Break! Wang Tianlong condensed his spirit energy into a long dragon spear that pierced through the divine blood chains. At the same time, he swept away the yin corpses blocking the way, clearing a path for the Earth Dragon. This fat and wild Earth Dragon was not something the yin corpses could block with their flesh. There were flames brewing in its mouth as it charged at Chu Tian, preparing to burn Chu Tian to ashes in a single breath. Almost instantly, a green beam of light shot out, blocking the Earth Dragon's flames. Then, A huge green figure appeared out of thin air and grabbed the earth dragon's body. The two behemoths rolled together. That green lizard-like magical beast raised its tail and heavily whipped the earth dragon's back. This was not inferior to being chopped by an axe. The earth dragon sank down by 3 inches and immediately shattered scales flew everywhere. Not to be outdone, the earth dragon counterattacked. Dragon lizard beast. Wang Tu recognized the demon beast that had appeared out of nowhere. Wasn't this the one from the Scarlet Swamp? It had clearly been killed already. Wang Tianlong used a secret technique to summon his mount. Chu Tian summoned the dragon lizard beast. Now that the two super strong demon beasts were wildly fighting each other, neither side could gain the upper hand. The earth dragon was entangled by the dragon lizard beast, so the two beasts would not be able to decide the victor for a while. The 18 divine blood yin corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong again. Chu Tian crossed his arms in front of his chest. Heroic martial Marquis, I think you've exhausted all your tricks. You can't break my array, just admit defeat. This surprised Chu Tian. Wang Tianlong was not as angry as he imagined, his expression did not even change. He just coldly stared at Chu Tian. Do you really think you can restrain me with these yin corpses? Could it be that the heroic martial Marquis still hasn't used his final move? I thought I wouldn't need to use this move to deal with you, but since your performance has surpassed my expectations, then I'll let you lose a bit more brilliantly. Ayo, such big words. Chu Tian said this, but his heart was on guard. The great summer royal family's background was not this simple. If Wang Tianlong was really hiding something, then it would not be a small matter. Do you think your defense is very strong? Large amounts of spirit energy were released from Wang Tianlong's pores and 4-5 golden spirit energy flood dragons condensed around him. These flood dragons spun at a speed hard to see with the naked eye, almost forming a golden ball. I'll let you see what is called true defense today. This was Wang Tianlong's main cultivation technique. After fighting for so long, this was Wang Tianlong's first time using it. The refined ruler said with interest, the great summer royal family's dragon transformation body protecting technique can turn one's spirit energy into flood dragon energy. As long as one's spirit energy is not used up, one cannot be attacked by 100 soldiers and cannot be broken by 10,000 enemies. It could be called the great summer country's #1 defensive cultivation technique in the past. That's right. The burning sun ruler knit his brows. This is the great summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique. The reason Wang Tianlong was able to move through the Warhound Plains for 10 years was all because of this defensive and offensive cultivation technique. Chu Tian never thought this would happen. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique focused on defense. Moreover, Wang Tianlong had clearly cultivated it to the perfection realm, so his defense could compare to the large success Starlight Immortal Body. In short, it was much stronger than the Diamond Body Starlight Immortal Body, but this cultivation technique was different from the Starlight Immortal Body. The Starlight Immortal Body released a layer of starlight, and when it received an attack, it would immediately counteract the damage. When the starlight was destroyed, the spirit energy in the body would automatically seep out and repair the damage. But if the consumption rate surpassed the repair rate, the Starlight Immortal Body could be broken. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique released most of the spirit energy in his body in one breath, creating a layer of defense. This layer of defense was a one-time defense made of pure spirit energy, without any repair, but the effect was even more overbearing and the defense was very strong. When Wang Tianlong used this technique, those under the true spirit realm could not break it. This cultivation technique was not only strong in defense, it also had a strong attack power. Anything that came close would be torn apart by the flood dragon energy. Of course, every cultivation technique had a weakness. The weakness of this cultivation technique was that it consumed too much energy at one time. In terms of defense, this cultivation technique was not inferior to the Starlight Immortal Body. This kind of defense consumed too much energy, while the Starlight Immortal Body consumed less energy. Secondly, the Starlight Immortal Body was not just a defensive cultivation technique, it was also a body-nourishing cultivation technique. It could stabilize a cultivator's foundation and build their physique, which far surpassed the value of defense. It couldn't be said that this cultivation technique could compare to the starlight immortal body just based on defense. Let me try. Chu Tian controlled 4-5 yin corpses to surround him. In the end, when the yin corpses came close, before they could even touch the flood dragon energy barrier, it was like they had been clawed by a flood dragon and were instantly sent flying several meters away. Such a fierce strength. Even if a 9th awakened soul layer cultivator was hit, they would still be heavily injured. The Great Summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique was truly an overbearing and powerful cultivation technique. Meng Yingying's heart palpitated a bit when she saw this. This cultivation technique seems to be even stronger than our starlight immortal body. What should we do? If Chu Tian can't break this defense, won't he lose for sure? Meng Qingwu and Nangong Yun were also very anxious. The yin corpses did not even have time to move before they were sent flying. The yin corpse's large array was already paralyzed. A long dragon spear condensed in Wang Tianlong's hand and he sent the last 3 yin corpses flying, stabbing it at the exposed Chu Tian. This is bad. The little fox's dragon lizard beast was fighting with the earth dragon beast and the yin corpses had all been defeated. How could Chu Tian block this attack? The distance between the two sides was already less than 10 feet. The last yin corpse blocked in front of him, but it was still easily sent flying. Wang Tianlong could close this distance in an instant, so there was no time for Chu Tian to react. The calm martial ruler prepared to make a move when he saw this. Winning or losing was not important, at least he had to ensure Chu Tian's safety. Who would have thought that at this moment? Chu Tian suddenly pulled out 2 strange-looking submachine guns. Have a taste of this. 2, 2, 2, 2. The sound of the bullets fired from the source energy submachine guns was different from normal. The sound was small and sharp, but it was a real bullet. A large amount of dark red needles flew out like a storm. Wang Tianlong felt that the speed and power of the needles were not high, so he gave a cold laugh. You want to injure me with such weak attacks? He didn't even finish speaking. These small red needles passed through his defenses and landed on Wang Tianlong's body. Most of them were sent flying by his armor, but there were a few that hit the gaps in his armor, his neck, his face, etc., instantly turning Wang Tianlong into a porcupine. Ah! Wang Tianlong gave a pitiful cry as he took a few steps back. His cultivation technique instantly collapsed and a wave of numbness spread through his body, almost making him lose consciousness. Chu Tian raised his sword and stomped his feet into the air, sending out a burning rage. That bright sword glow sent Wang Tianlong into the air and the sword glow tore through his armor. Before it could fall, the 18 yin corpses surrounded him. How could Wang Tianlong have time to block? Peng, peng, peng. Several dozen attacks came one after the other. The 18 yin corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong and stomped him into the ground. Wang Tianlong already did not have the strength to fight back. There was no longer any suspense when the battle reached this point. Chu Tian sheathed his sword and his face was filled with disdain. With this kind of skill, you want to fight me? In your next life. Chapter 312. This gun's design was completely different from normal source energy submachine guns. It used a special magazine to shoot bullets and the muzzle looked like it was sealed, but there were several small holes. Each hole could shoot blood yin steel needles at a very fast speed. These needles could ignore an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy, so they could directly penetrate their defenses. Each needle had been personally processed by Chu Tian. Not only were these needles incomparably sharp, they had also been refined with the snake scorpion beast king's poison, so they could instantly paralyze the enemy. Stop! The calm martial ruler raised his hand. A giant blood-red sword fell from the clouds and stabbed into the ground around Wang Tianlong. The surrounding yin corpses seemed to be repelled by a force field, being blocked 10 meters away, not being able to take even half a step forward. The calm martial ruler grabbed the air and Wang Tianlong was sent in front of him. The outcome of this battle had been decided, there was no need to fight anymore. Chu Tian wins. Chu Tian gave a few loud laughs. Thanks for letting me win. Thanks for letting me win. The heroic martial marquis. Oh, no, according to the agreement, you should be stripped of your title and I should be calling you young Commander Wang. Many thanks for young Commander Wang's mercy. Wang Tianlong almost fainted on the spot. Ha, Ha, ha. Nan Gongyun laughed as she shouted, "Your young commander personally agreed to this bet, with the 3 rulers and His Majesty as witnesses. The Wang family won't go back on their words, right?" The faces of the Wang family members turned darker. The Marquis title and Marquis title happened on the same day. The heroic martial Marquis title had been taken away in less than half a day. This was enough to become a laughingstock in southern Xia. Regardless of whether it was to Wang Tianlong or to the Wang family, it was a great humiliation. Moreover, it was a humiliation that could never be washed away. The Southern Summer King's expression was not good. He had been bestowed the heroic martial Marquis title to suppress Chu Tian's arrogance, letting Chu Tian not be in the limelight anymore. But in the end, the heroic martial Marquis had been taken down in less than a day. With Chu Tian stepping on the heroic martial Marquis body, his reputation would go up another level. Who would be able to suppress his aura? But this person was unruly and could not be controlled by the Southern Summer King. If he grew up in the future, wouldn't he be an existence that could shake the royal power? The refined ruler could clearly guess the Southern Summer King's thoughts. The heroic martial Marquis' defeat was not because of his strength, but rather because he underestimated his opponent. Chu Tian's victory was not a victory of strength, but of external assistance. The heroic martial Marquis had many military merits, and the Wang family was a famous family in the Southern Summer Country. Directly stripping him of his title, this ruler does not think it is appropriate. I suggest that we take back the conferment letter first and leave it for the heroic martial Marquis to reflect on his actions. The conferment can only be done after a month. The refined lord's thoughts coincide with mine. The Southern Summer King said in a lecturing tone, "General Wang should properly think about this. As a veteran general, how can you underestimate the enemy? Take this as a lesson to you." Wang Tianlong hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. "My king is right." The people around Chu Tian were dissatisfied. This fellow had clearly promised to become a marquis, so why was he going back on his word now? But regarding the Southern Summer King's idea, not only did the calm martial ruler and the burning sun ruler not object, even the great scholar silently agreed. The conferment of a marquis was not a small matter. How could it be reduced so quickly? Not only would this cause a stir in the court, the Wang family was very important in Imperial City. They were the descendants of the old royal family and had a very long history. They had many military merits in the last 10 years, so if they were to deny the Wang family's contributions just because of a single bet, wouldn't the Southern Summer King be a heartless person? It was impossible to reduce his marquis title, but he could at most postpone it. This could be considered giving an explanation to miracle commerce and giving face to Chu Tian. Today's battle has opened this king's eyes. Scholar Chu is truly a miraculous youth. 10 soul weapons, 10 sacred herbs, and 10,000 gold coins will be rewarded. Whether Chu Tian was satisfied with this result or not, the Southern Summer King had already made his decision and it was impossible to change it, so he had to accept it even if he didn't want to. The 3 rulers agreed with this decision. Now that things had reached this point, they could only do this. When the commotion caused by the duel had yet to dissipate, a sharp whistling sound came from the sky as a griffin rider quickly flew through the sky. A rider jumped off the back of the griffin and ran in front of the Southern Summer King with an anxious expression. He suddenly knelt down on one knee, reporting to my king, "This is an urgent military matter." The Southern Summer King immediately stood up. "Speak." The griffin rider presented a booklet with both hands. The scouts from the front lines have reported that the war hounds seem to be gathering a large army and are moving towards the border of Kang State. This is very suspicious. I ask the king to make a decision. The Southern Summer King hesitated for a bit. "What do you think?" The refined ruler knit his brows and said, "From the warhounds' movements, it seems like they want to directly attack Kang State City. We should strengthen Kang State City's defenses. Otherwise, once Kang State City falls, Imperial City will be isolated in the north and will be restricted everywhere." This ruler does not think so. Kang State City is tall and deep, so if the warhounds are not united, they will not be able to capture Kang State City. From the current traces, this is a large group of light cavalry. Although the scale is larger than the previous invasions, it doesn't seem like they are going to attack a stronghold. The calm martial ruler was silent for a while. This ruler suspects that Kang State City is a cover and their true target is the Kang State Farms. With these words, their bodies trembled. The Kang State Farms were very important to Southern Shia. The mounts of Southern Shia's several 100,000 cavalry were all produced in Kang State. If the farms were attacked by the war hounds, then Southern Shia's production of mounts would plummet. The cavalry would decrease and they would not be able to compete with the war hounds in the prairies. This method of removing firewood from under the cauldron was extremely ruthless. The Southern Summer King revealed a trace of anger. The frontline troops have just been reduced and the war hounds are already impatient to make a move. They are truly in a rush. This matter is not simple. The calm martial ruler revealed a trace of worry. The Warhound's planes has not launched a strategic attack on Southern Summer in many years. The so-called strategic military strike referred to a premeditated and planned invasion. In the last several years, the Warhounds had charged in many times, but they had only taken one and left. The meaning of this invasion was completely different from the past. Whether it was the Warhounds attacking the horse farms or Kang State City, their goal was to cut off one of Southern Shia's important supply points. The Imperial region was the heart of Southern Shia, so it was very hard to attack. With the three rulers and the Southern Summer King guarding it, whether it was cavalry or infantry, they made up a third of the country. There were several famous elite armies in the Imperial region and 80% of Southern Shia's fighting strength was gathered in the Imperial region. This was the result of the kingdom's several decades of recovery. Attacking the Imperial region was impossible. They could only attack the neighboring Kang State. In comparison, the Warhounds tribe's last generation Fang King had fallen and they had been in internal strife for the last few decades. The various tribes were fighting against each other, so their overall strength could not compare to the Warhounds' kingdom. Not to mention the scattered Warhounds, even if they were united, the Warhounds' planes' combined strength would not be able to break through Imperial City in a year and a half. The best method was to use a long-term strategy. Encroaching on Kang State and isolating the Imperial region, then they would begin a long-term battle plan. So attacking Kang State was the first step of the strategy. Of course, the Southern Summer King and the three rulers were not worried. This was actually very hard to accomplish. Although Southern Shia suffered many internal disasters, the country was still relatively stable. The Warhounds tribe had a low social structure, so it was destined to be a long-term chaotic country. Even if they occasionally united, it would only be a flash in the pan. This long-term strategy was not suitable for a country with a chaotic political situation. Even if the Warhounds' cavalry succeeded, they would only be able to temporarily cut off Southern Shia's strength and stop Southern Shia from advancing north. They would not be able to deal a fundamental blow to Southern Shia, not to mention a crisis of exterminating the country. This is good. The Southern Summer King quickly considered the situation and immediately patted the railing in front of him. This king has called back many generals to plan an attack on the Warhounds. The Warhounds are nomadic tribes and although we have the refined ruler's information, it is not easy to find them in the vast prairies. This time they have taken the initiative to send a large amount of cavalry to our territory. This king will gladly accept this large piece of meat, Your Majesty. When Wang Tianlong heard this, he immediately knelt down on one knee. The battle dragon army requests to go out to battle. General is currently injured, so you should properly recuperate first. Not to mention that the ones being transferred back are the elites of the battle dragon army. The main force of the army is on the front lines and cannot be moved for now. You won't have any soldiers to send to Kang State. Wang Tianlong said, why does this general need to be restricted in leading troops? With the normal main force working with the battle dragon army's elites, I think it will be enough to destroy the Warhounds' cavalry. As for this general's injuries, they are not worth mentioning. Ha, ha, ha. General is eager to gain merit, this king can understand. The Southern Summer Army's northern expedition is imminent, there will be many chances to gain merit in the future. The Southern Summer King still did not agree with Wang Tianlong going out to battle. This battle must be fought beautifully and raise the prestige of our Southern Summer country. Only then can we begin the northern expedition. So, for this battle, to be safe, it is best to have the calm martial ruler personally lead the army. Wang Tianlong was not convinced at all. Once the Southern Summer King said that the calm martial ruler would personally lead the army, he had nothing to say. In the entire Southern Summer, who had more authority than the calm martial ruler? Not to mention that the calm martial ruler was a true spirit expert with a high cultivation base that surpassed the Southern Summer country, there was no one that could match him. If he personally led the army, he would not even need to fight, and just his reputation would be enough to scare the warhounds' mobs to the point of pissing their pants. The three rulers will follow this king back to the palace and will come up with a proper strategy. The Southern Summer King said to the others, "You can all disperse." The Southern Summer King and the three rulers left. Chu Tian led his people back to the company. On the way back, everyone was depressed and he felt very puzzled, so he asked, "What are you all worried about?" "That fellow has already been taught a lesson, so forget about the Marquis." The Southern Summer King is ambitious and is wholeheartedly preparing for the northern expedition. Even if he is stupid, he wouldn't offend a general at this time. "We aren't thinking about this." Meng Yingying looked up at Chu Tian with a pair of bright eyes. "Southern Xia is about to fight. So what?" Nangongyun cut in and said, "Aren't you worried at all? The opponent is the Warhounds tribe. They have been suppressing Southern Xia for several hundred years. War, it was always a heavy topic. Unless one was an ambitious person, there were not many people who liked to fight. Not to mention the fact that the opponent was this strong. The Warhounds tribe had always been the nemesis of the Southern Summer country." Chu Tian scratched his head. Actually, he had only been in Imperial City for a few days, so he was not familiar with the streets. He did not know how many cities there were in the Imperial region, and he did not know anything about the world to the north of the Imperial region. How many tribes did the Warhounds tribe have? Their population, strength, weapons, and level of civilization were all unclear, so Chu Tian did not know if starting a war was a good or bad thing. "You're all worrying too much." Chu Tian comforted everyone. The Southern Summer King and the three rulers are not normal people, they have studied the Warhounds plains very thoroughly. Since the four of them have no objections this time, it means we can fight this war. Southern Xia had been recuperating for several decades and now had enough military strength. The most important thing was that Southern Xia was different from anything else. Now that Southern Xia had established a source energy weapon factory, they would be able to use weapons that surpassed the current era. Once these weapons were used in the army, not to mention the warhounds already collapsing, even the warhounds at their peak would not be able to resist. Technology was enough to make up for the difference in strength. Meng Qingwu gave a slight nod. War is a disaster and also an opportunity. At least the Southern Summer King has use for us, so he won't do anything to us. We can use this time to properly develop. Meng Yingying suddenly said to Chu Tian, "Speaking of this, Chu Tian, you won't be fighting, right? Why are you asking this?" Chu Tian was very puzzled. "I don't understand the art of war and I don't understand the weapons of this era. I don't even know the structure of the Southern Xia army. Do you think you can lead an army as a single person? Although I am a peerless genius, you can't expect me to know everything. If you don't know how to fight, then just say it. Why are you finding excuses?" Meng Yingying let out a sigh of relief. "Then I can be assured." What was this girl's brain thinking? She was looking down on me. Chapter 313. The news of the Warhounds tribe's large-scale invasion was further confirmed, and the scale far surpassed people's expectations. There were around 400,000 Warhounds cavalry gathered on the prairies, flooding Kang State like a flood. Now, he was basically certain. The Warhounds were prepared to attack the Kang State plains. 400,000 Warhounds cavalry, this was a terrifying number. The Warhounds plains were very vast and the spirit beasts were very strong, but the Warhounds did not have a lot of people, only around a third of Southern Xia. There were three main reasons for this. First, their technological production capacity was low, and they mainly relied on hunting for food. If a plague or disaster broke out, it would immediately cause a large number of people to die. Second, the living environment was very cruel. Each spirit beast had to endure a cruel life from birth, fighting each other for resources and challenging fierce demon beasts to hunt. Out of 10 Warhounds children, only one would live to grow up. Third, there were many internal conflicts. There were several hundred tribes in the Warhounds plains, with several dozen large tribes. The tribes often fought with each other, with the large tribes swallowing the small tribes. The small tribes fought for water and hunting grounds, while the large tribes fought for the title of Fang King. In short, there were all kinds of reasons to fight. The cruel struggle for survival reduced the warhounds' population, but those that survived were all brave warriors. The normal southern summer troops were no different from chickens under the warhounds' cavalry, only the most elite cavalry had the qualifications to fight against the warhounds. An army of 400,000 was not a large number, but their combat strength was extremely terrifying. This time, the warhounds' commander's mind was clear. At least he knew how to avoid the strong and attack the weak, so he did not choose to attack the Imperial Region's fortress and chose to attack Kang State's fortress. Kang State City could not block this kind of army, so the 400,000 warhounds' cavalry killing their way into Kang State was a matter that was set in stone. Even if the Imperial Region sent reinforcements, it was better than fighting the Imperial Region's elites in their own territory. The Southern Summer King did not hide any information from the citizens. When the warhounds' army's size and movements were confirmed, they were immediately announced to the entire city. Royal City was shocked. 400,000 cavalry was a large lineup for the warhound. This was because the warhounds were not good at growing and storing food. Adding in the several decades of war, it was hard for them to support a large army on a long expedition. 400,000 cavalry. How much would it take for a human to eat a horse? The warhounds' plains did not have any food, so why would they send out an army of 400,000 to attack Southern Summer? It was hard to understand. They were about to starve to death. Did they think they could take down Southern Shia? The Imperial City people's mentality was quite high. Perhaps it was because they were used to seeing the warhounds attack. Although there were a lot of them this time, they were only a bit surprised and were not too worried. With the three rulers, Imperial City was as stable as a rock and Kang State was not weak. The Kang State army was the head of the 8 states, and adding in the reinforcements sent by Imperial City, with a fierce pincer attack, no matter what the warhounds' army's goal was, they would return without any results. Southern Shia had plenty of grain, warhounds, hounds, the plains' territory, could. Southern of the war troops. Plains. The Southern Shia's kings. The Southern Kings. The first was the trump card army that had been withdrawn 2 days ago. They all returned to the frontline fortress and entered a battle state, preventing the warhounds from attacking the Imperial Region. The second was for the calm martial ruler to personally lead the army, leading 200,000 storm cavalry to intercept the warhounds in Kang State. They would cooperate with Kang State's 200,000 elites to destroy the warhounds. The third was for the entire country to prepare for war, buying large amounts of grain, metal, leather, as well as military equipment. They would hire large amounts of money to send troops from the south to the north. With the 3 royal proclamations, the confidence of the citizens increased. The Southern Summer King reacted very quickly and made preparations. The warhounds would not be able to take advantage of this, so they were just waiting for the calm martial ruler to teach the warhounds' cavalry a lesson. On the same day, the army set off. The million citizens of Imperial City sent them off. On the plains outside the city, there were countless cavalry ready to set off. Looking at the dense amount, it was enough to shock people's hearts. They wore the same green armor and led their green storm foals. It was as if they had become one with the grassland. They raised their sharp spears high up in the air and looked like dense weeds fighting to be the first to drill out of the ground. Their roars were like landslides and tsunamis. Victory! 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 The storm cavalry was the main force of cavalry in Southern Shia. There were storm cavalry stationed in each state, but there were less than 3,000 cavalry in each state. As for the battle strength of the storm cavalry, Chu Tian and the others had already seen it in Thunder State. There were over 100,000 storm cavalry now. If they charged forward, they would turn into a hurricane on the plains of Kang State. Wherever they went, not a single piece of armor remained and all the strong enemies would be instantly destroyed. The Southern Summer King personally sent them off. This kind of scene had not appeared in Southern Shia for many years. The commander this time was the guardian god of the Southern Shia citizens, the head of the 3 rulers, the calm martial ruler. The calm martial ruler had always been invincible. In the several decades he had been guarding the southern summer country, the war hounds had never broken through the imperial region's borders. There was no one in the entire country more suited to lead this war than the calm martial ruler. Wang Tianlong and the departing Flame Marquis were all famous generals, but they were only good at setting up formations. For this kind of large-scale battle, they needed a veteran with more experience and strength to lead them. This is the Southern Summer Country's king's sword. The Southern Summer King raised up a sword filled with a majestic aura. In Kang State, the ruler has the same authority as the Southern Summer King with this sword. There is no need to report any arrangements, and anyone who dares not obey or delay, from the Kangyun Marquis to the soldiers, the ruler can kill them first and report later. The king's sword was not just a divine weapon, it also represented the supreme authority of the king. The Southern Summer King even gave the king's sword to the calm martial ruler. This was enough to show how important this battle was and how much trust he had in the calm martial ruler. "Thank you, my king." The calm martial ruler held the king's sword with both hands and stood there like a statue. "Calm martial ruler, you are the strongest person in Southern Xia and the most outstanding commander in Southern Xia. I believe that with you as the commander, a trivial mob of several 100,000 will not be a problem." The Southern Summer King's voice was filled with power, as if it was filled with confidence. "When you return in victory, we'll decide on a plan to pacify the Warhound's plains in one fell swoop and return our great Xia's magnificent mountains and river." These words made everyone's blood boil. The Southern Xia people always wanted to attack the Warhounds from afar, taking back half of the great summer country and driving the damn Warhounds out of the plains. The Southern Summer King seemed to be planning on attacking the Warhounds, so how could they not be excited? The Southern Summer King personally lifted up a jar of wine. This king sends off the Southern Summer soldiers. The Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler raised their bowls of wine on both sides of the platform, paying their respects to the Southern Xia cavalry. The 200,000 soldiers were all filled with excitement as they drank the wine in one gulp. They threw it high up in the air and jumped onto their horses at the same time, creating a strong impact. "The great summer country is invincible," the Southern Summer King shouted. "Make contributions and return in victory." The calm martial ruler rode a golden griffin, and that handsome griffin flew into the air, instantly reaching its peak speed. It flew over the heads of the cavalry with an unimaginable speed, instantly arriving on the other side. The calm martial ruler's deep and solemn voice fell down from the clouds. "Everyone, move out. Victory! Victory! Victory for the calm martial ruler." The millions of citizens of Imperial City all shouted out together. The calm martial ruler led the cavalry army out. This battle was very important to Southern Xia. Although it was a battle rarely seen in decades, it came at the right time. It was the starting point for the ambitions of this generation's Southern Summer King and the three rulers. The first generation Southern Summer King was a great strategist, setting the capital on the plains and overlooking the Warhound's plains. Many generations of Southern Summer Kings dreamed of taking back the great summer country, but they never had the strength to do so. Now a once-in-a-100-year opportunity was right in front of them. The Warhounds had been in internal strife for many years and were very weak. Southern Xia had been storing up energy for several decades, having enough troops and generals like clouds. They even had a genius like Chu Tian, creating the source energy weapon that changed history. This was a very good chance. Southern Xia would definitely be able to make a comeback. Chu Tian said to the people beside him, "The Southern Summer King has left, we should also go back." Meng Qingwu slightly knit her brows and revealed a look of worry. Although the calm martial ruler is personally leading the troops, the Warhound's invasion this time is not a small matter. After all, this is the first true invasion in several decades, so I'm afraid it will be different from the normal plundering troops. Both sides are evenly matched, and although the Southern Summer Country has the advantage in defense and supplies, the Warhounds are fierce and have more experts than the Southern Summer Country, so this battle will not be easy. We don't understand military matters, so we can only believe in the calm martial ruler. Chu Tian was not worried at all. Even if they did not win this battle, the worst result would be losing the horse farm and losing Southern Xia's elite cavalry, causing Southern Xia to temporarily lose the ability to attack the north. The imperial region would not fall. The Southern Summer King was not a fool, he had already made preparations. The warhounds would not be able to sneak in, and even if the warhounds stopped fighting, it would be hard for them to attack Imperial City. The Imperial region had lost a fast attack force, but the other forces were still there. With the three rulers, the Southern Summer King, and the Source Energy weapon, there was no problem in protecting themselves. Instead of worrying about the calm martial ruler losing, it was better to worry that after the calm martial ruler left Imperial City, Chu Tian would lose a large backer. He had to be more careful in case someone made a move against him. However, when he returned to the Miracle Commerce headquarters, there was a piece of good news. Foam Cady and Yun Yarrow had come to Imperial City. Chu Tian excitedly led everyone out to welcome them. After 2-3 months, the two of them had lost a lot of weight, but their faces were glowing. Foam Cady was as gentle as the clouds and Yun Yarrow was as sharp as lightning. The two of them had left the army for several months, but their strength had not slowed down at all. Although they could not compare to Chu Tian and Nangong Yun, they were still at the same level as Meng Yingying and Meng Qingwu. Both of them were in the peak 5th awakened soul layer. Big Sister Cady, Big Sister Yun Yarrow, you're finally here. Meng Yingying cheered as she gave the two of them a hug. There are many things that have happened in Imperial City these past few days. I'll carefully tell you all about it. There's no rush in telling these things later. Chu Tian pulled Yingying to the side and asked the two of them, have those things been done already? Yun Yarrow and Foam Cady both nodded. Foam Cady replied with a smile, we haven't disgraced the mission. We've gone to the 7 southern states and each state has at least 5 large cities covered by the signal. This time we've gone north to build a network for Kang State and the Imperial region. Good, good. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Miracle Commerce had planned for a long time and had finally completed the initial construction. Now the Central State radio station could cover the 7 southern states and Miracle Commerce's communication devices could connect states. This was a milestone in Miracle Commerce's development and a milestone in the continent's development. Chapter 314. Miracle Commerce's Imperial City Research Institute was mobilized. In just a short 3 days, they had built an ultra-wave audio transmission system in Imperial City. On the same day, Chu Tian, Meng Qingwu, the two chairmen, Nangong Yun, Meng Yingying, and the other executives, as well as Jiyu Qianqiu, Zhao Piyu, and several other core researchers, all gathered in a small laboratory. Jiyu Qianqiu was a bit impatient as he rubbed his hands. Can we start now? Including Zhao Piyu, every scholar was very excited. No matter who participated in this meaningful test, it was enough to bring glory to their ancestors and leave their name in history. So, how could these old scholars not be excited? Not everyone had this chance, even those famous scholars of the empires were the same. Chu Tian looked at the time, it's about time, let's start the test. Meng Qingwu walked in front of a brand new radio. This radio was currently turned off. When Meng Qingwu personally turned it on, there was a burst of noise that gradually became clearer. They were now listening to the content of the Imperial City radio station. Begin changing the frequency. Meng Qingwu turned it to a very familiar frequency. There was an ear-piercing noise coming from the radio. They could faintly hear people talking, but it wasn't clear. It was clear that the reception was not good. Meng Qingwu was very patient as she adjusted it back and forth. Suddenly, the noise disappeared. A clear and sweet female voice came from inside. Hello everyone, welcome to Central State's noon news. I am the Central State radio station's anchor Xiaoling. Today's broadcast content is, everyone fell into a daze. As for what the anchor said, they didn't hear a single word. They only felt their blood rushing to their heads, causing them to collapse. Ha, ha, ha. We really succeeded. We can receive Central State's signal. We can receive Central State's voice. This group of old men were excited like they had been injected with chicken blood. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun happily hugged each other. Even the calm Meng Qingwu revealed a smile from the bottom of her heart. It really wasn't easy. It had been more than half a year since the establishment of Miracle Commerce. Although countless milestone inventions had been made, a truly historic step had been taken at this moment. This signified that Miracle Commerce had successfully built the continent's first information network. Central State City and Imperial City were separated by tens of thousands of miles, but people could directly receive it through the radio station. The sound from Central State could pass through the distant space and be steadily received by Imperial City. This set of intercontinental radio stations had already realized the most primitive form of the continent's informatization. The ancient and closed communication method of the continent for millions of years would be completely broken at this moment. The entire world would usher in an informational revolution because of miracle commerce. Meng Qingwu asked, "Should we announce it immediately?" "Nonsense. How can we not announce such a good thing?" Chu Tian hammered the table and said, "Quick, activate the local radio station and all the channels. We have to spread the good news." "All right. Miracle Commerce will open up a free interstate broadcasting service for customers, allowing everyone in Imperial City to hear the voice from Central State. Of course, it will also allow the people of Central State to hear the voice from Imperial City." Chu Tian did not have any thoughts of hiding it. After Miracle Commerce announced their latest achievement, it was no surprise that the entire Imperial City was filled with excitement. Miracle Commerce's radios and magnetic sound machines had a large increase in sales, running out of stock in a single day. The Southern Summer King was immediately alerted. The significance of this radio station was very significant in consolidating the king's rule. The Southern Summer King had come to Miracle Commerce to prepare a cooperation with Miracle Commerce, creating an official kingdom radio station that would represent the king's voice. When he arrived at Miracle Commerce, he heard another shocking piece of news. Miracle Commerce had developed a communication device that could communicate in real time. Miracle Commerce had been researching communication technology for a long time. This was not a secret in Miracle Commerce, especially in the Yun sect, but this was the first time outsiders had heard of it. At this moment, the Southern Summer Country finally recognized Miracle Commerce's skills. The appearance of the communication device had a greater significance and wider prospects. If they could grasp this invention, Miracle Commerce would instantly become a top company on the continent. Scholar Chu, Scholar Chu, you truly are a person skilled in creating miracles. The Southern Summer King was looking at Chu Tian like he was looking at a piece of fat meat. If he could obtain even 1% of Chu Tian's intelligence, the Southern Summer royal family would be stable for 1,000 years. This kind of super talent was born in Southern Xia. It made the Southern Summer King very excited, but it also gave the Southern Summer King a headache. In this era, strength was everything. The Southern Summer King could sit on the throne because of the Dongfang family's strength. It was all because of the Dongfang family's strength. If there was a power that quickly rose in the country and could even threaten the Dongfang family, what would the Southern Summer King do? Kill him? Now was not the time. Indulge him? He was afraid he would not be able to control it at that time. The Southern Summer King had always been afraid of Chu Tian, mainly because he was too outstanding. Chu Tian did not have any interest in the throne, but the Southern Summer King had a knot in his heart. No king wished for their country to have a power that could surpass them at any time. Even if this person did not have such thoughts, could they guarantee that the people by his side and his descendants would not have such thoughts? It was not important what would happen in the future. The Southern Summer King was anxious to see the current results. He personally came to Miracle Commerce to witness a miracle. Miracle Commerce chose the small square of the headquarters for the experiment. Several hundred Miracle Commerce employees, researchers, as well as the Southern Summer King, the Burning Sun ruler, and the Refined ruler, were all watching. Miracle Commerce used image transfer mirrors to broadcast this scene to various places in Imperial City. Let's begin. Chu Tian personally walked in front of the communication device and gave a number to it. There was a series of notifications coming from the communication device, and the hearts of everyone present jumped up and down. Would it succeed? Could they really communicate in real time? This was a distance of tens of thousands of miles. There was the vast four-states lake in between, as well as several thousand miles of mountains. No one had time to think before the notifications from the communication device disappeared. A faint noise came through the speakers, and then an old voice sounded. Hello? This is the Central State Yun sect. This old man is Yun Tianhe. May I ask who you are? Chu Tian gave a laugh. Old Yun, it's been a long time since we last talked. Chairman. Why is it you? Did Imperial City finish building the communication device this quickly? Chu Tian chatted with Yun Tianhe. The entire process was very smooth and there was no noise at all. This scene once again shocked everyone. Everyone stood up and applauded. The Southern Summer King stood up and excitedly shouted, "Good. This is too good. This invention has a large significance to Southern Xia. Scholar Chu is truly a scholar of the country. Someone, give Scholar Chu 1,000,000 gold coins and promote him to a great scholar." A small country like the Southern Summer Country only had one great scholar title. But who cared about these details right now? With Chu Tian's contributions and inventions, not to mention a great scholar title, even a country scholar or a great country scholar would not be enough. From now on, Southern Xia had two great scholars. One was the 100-year-old Jiyu Qianqiu. The other was the less than 20-year-old Chu Tian. When the kingdom announced this news, everyone was shocked, but no one accused the Southern Summer King of breaking the rules. Chu Tian did not have Jiyu Qianqiu's fame and prestige, but everything he had done since he established miracle commerce was enough for him to receive the title of great scholar. When Chu Tian was in the limelight, there were some people quietly hiding in a dark corner watching everything. That night, a special guest came to the departing Flame Marquis Palace. Ever since the departing Flame Marquis' son Nangong Jian had been heavily injured, the departing Flame Marquis had not left the palace at all. No one knew what he had been doing recently. The Burning Sun ruler and the Southern Summer King had tried to pacify him several times, but it had no effect. It seemed like he still could not get rid of his hatred. The Southern Summer King and the Burning Sun ruler could do nothing about this. At this time, in the departing Flame Marquis' room, there were several dim candles lit. He was dressed in red daoist robes and was sitting on a praying mat. There was a screen in front of him, which made his figure look hazy. When his hoarse voice came out, it added a sense of depth and eeriness. For the heroic martial Marquis to visit so late at night, I wonder what your intentions are? This guest was Wang Tianlong. It was unknown if the departing Flame Marquis was intentional or not, but when he heard the name heroic martial Marquis, Wang Tianlong's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. This was a glorious title, but it had become a shame that he wanted to wash away. Wang Tianlong did not explode. The departing Flame Marquis knows my intentions, so why ask when you already know? The departing Flame Marquis was silent for a full 5 seconds before saying, "For the great scholar Chu Tian?" Wang Tianlong softly said, "Yes, but not completely." The departing Flame Marquis gave a cold laugh. "Why is the heroic martial Marquis hiding it? If you cooperate with me, there is nothing to worry about with Chu Tian. You can leave." The departing Flame Marquis immediately lost interest. The ruler has ordered that the Nangong family is not allowed to move against Chu Tian. This Marquis cannot go against the ruler's orders. Wang Tianlong said with a cold smile, "I don't believe that the departing Flame Marquis can swallow this. Think about your son, he is already crippled. He can forget about inheriting the title in this life. The departing Flame Marquis title will be broken. As for the ruler, the departing Flame Marquis shouldn't be counting on this. The Burning Sun ruler is old and not dead, and you are still far from breaking into the true spirit realm. In 10-20 years, Nangong Yun will surpass you and it is unknown who has the final say in the Nangong family." "Who?" A burst of killing intent erupted. The dim oil lamp began to flicker. The departing Flame Marquis' voice became hoarse. "Before this Marquis makes a move, I'll say it again. Please leave." Wang Tianlong was not afraid of this killing intent. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. If the departing Flame Marquis does not grasp it, you will regret it. The departing Flame Marquis' killing intent became even thicker. Does the heroic martial Marquis not understand human speech, or do you want this Marquis to send you on your way? All right, I'll leave. But before I leave, I want to tell you something interesting. This is something I heard on the Warhound's plains and I think many people will be interested in it. What do you want to say? Wang Tianlong calmly said in a relaxed voice, 10 years ago, there was a Marquis that shook the Warhound's plains. His light was limitless and he was undefeatable, making people revere him. One day, he was sent to the wrong place by the wrong information and his whereabouts were discovered by the enemy. After a bloody battle that lasted for a day and night, he was completely annihilated. The candlelight around them began to shake even more and the atmosphere in the room became even heavier. Wang Tianlong continued to say with a smile, "The one who gave the wrong information was the same person, the Southern Summer Marquis blood-related little brother. Because of his jealousy, he killed his big brother, causing the Nangong family to lose an outstanding successor. Do you think anyone will believe this? What if the secret letter about him colluding with the Warhounds tribe is in my hands?" The candlelight floated up and condensed into a small sword, instantly piercing through a barrier. Wang Tianlong stood in the same place without moving. His essence energy transformed into a flood dragon that broke out of his body and swallowed the small flame sword. The entire room fell into darkness. "What are you panicking for?" Wang Tianlong's voice suddenly turned cold. "You want to kill me to silence me? This might be a good method, but the difference in strength between us is not that big. If I can escape, then the departing Flame Marquis should think about how to face the Burning Sun Ruler and the Southern Summer King." The darkness fell silent for a long time. The departing Flame Marquis' deep and low voice rang out, "Tell me, how do you want to deal with Chu Tian?" Wang Tianlong smiled, "I've already said that this is not just to deal with Chu Tian. Let us have a good chat now." Peng. Countless sparks appeared in the darkness and each spark accurately landed on the candlesticks, illuminating this place. Chapter 315. Meng Qingwu walked in front of Chu Tian who was drinking tea. She held an image-transferring mirror in her hands as she reported, "Central State has sent a video of their latest research. Do you want to take a look?" "Is that so?" Chu Tian took a sip of tea. "Just play it for me to take a look." Meng Qingwu opened the image-transferring mirror and the scene shown in the mirror was from the Central State City testing field. He saw several Yun sect scholars hitting a crystal ball the size of a head onto a catapult and the crystal ball was covered in runes and runes. This crystal ball attracted Chu Tian's attention because there was a glowing viscous liquid inside the crystal ball, which was clearly refined crude oil. Yun Tianhe gave a signal to start. The Yun sect scholars activated the crystal ball's source energy array and the crystal ball lit up. The originally stable crude oil began to boil, releasing large amounts of light and heat. The catapult quickly activated and the crystal ball was thrown out. Hong! The crystal ball landed 100 meters away and released a terrifying energy. These scholars were all affected and even the catapult used to throw the crystal ball was destroyed. The recording stopped here. Meng Qingwu closed the hidden image mirror. The Yun sect has not been idle these past few months. Now that they have developed a high-efficiency bomb using source energy batteries, if it can be used in the production of source energy weapons in the future, I think it will be very promising. Chu Tian curled his lips in disdain. What kind of invention is this? It's nothing more than a high-efficiency catalyst that can make the inert crystal oil become active again, using the instability of the crystal oil to create an explosion. The flaws of this bomb were very clear. First, the power and direction of the bomb's explosion could not be controlled. When the crystal ball exploded, the unstable crude oil would splash everywhere and explode, unable to form a fixed explosion area. Secondly, if the bomb could not be thrown out in time or if it was thrown out, it would cause a large amount of damage to one side. Chu Tian said to Meng Qingwu, "I'll write a proposal and you can help me send it to Central State." When Miracle Commerce established the information transmission channel, this work became much smoother. The two Yun sect research facilities could exchange knowledge and quickly share research results, saving a lot of manpower and resources. When Meng Qingwu took Chu Tian's suggestions and prepared to leave, she suddenly thought of something. "That's right, the first episode of the Southern Summer King's Great Summer Beacon has already been completed and we are preparing to release it in theaters. This time, the number of theaters in Imperial City has increased to 6 and Central State City has also begun to deploy. It is estimated that Miracle Commerce will increase to over 10 theaters this month. Then let's directly broadcast it. I think the Southern Summer King has been waiting for this for a long time." Meng Qingwu nodded and was about to do it. Meng Yingying rushed into the room. "Do you know? There's great news." Meng Qingwu was surprised by her little sister's reaction. "What news can make you this happy?" Meng Yingying first ran in and drank the cup in Chu Tian's hand before excitedly saying, "There's good news coming from Kang State." Meng Qingwu and Chu Tian were both shocked. What kind of situation was this? The calm martial ruler had been away for less than a week. There was good news coming this quickly. The warhound's army was eating shit. Meng Yingying explained, this news came from the royal palace, so it shouldn't be wrong. The calm martial ruler is too strong, actually teaching the warhound's cavalry a fierce lesson as soon as he arrived in Kang State. Chu Tian felt like he needed to understand more, so he prepared to find Jiyu Chenqiu to ask. Jiyu Chenqiu was a southern Xia teacher, so he would definitely be more informed about the royal palace than them. Who would have thought that before Jiyu Chenqiu arrived, the southern summer king would send a messenger? The royal messenger brought a confident message to Miracle Commerce. Not only was it clearer than Meng Yingying's, it even described the entire process in detail. When the calm martial ruler led his cavalry to Kang State, the warhound's cavalry had already begun their attack. They had captured 3 cities and their morale was high. Kang State was in a panic and the situation at that time could be considered very dangerous. In the end, the calm martial ruler saw through the weakness of the warhound's cavalry with a single glance. The warhounds were not disciplined, so every time they captured a city, they would immediately kill and pillage, so a portion of their army was lagging behind. When they captured 3 cities, the army was already scattered, with the front and back being 100 miles apart. The calm martial ruler's storm cavalry was split into 3 groups. The first group of 50,000 cavalry acted as a reinforcement and attacked the main warhound's cavalry. The 50,000 cavalry could not touch the other side, so they fell into a disadvantage and ran away in defeat. When the warhound's cavalry saw this many southern summer elites, how could they let them go? In their eagerness to obtain merits, the 200,000 soldiers immediately chased after them. The other 200,000 cavalry did not arrive in time and the warhound's army was pulled apart, creating a situation where the front and back armies were separated. At this time, the calm martial ruler's second group of 100,000 cavalry split the front and back armies. The third group of 50,000 went behind the warhounds and launched a sneak attack while the warhounds' cavalry were advancing, cutting off their supplies in one fell swoop. Like this, a trivial 200,000 storm cavalry held back 400,000 warhounds' cavalry. The 3 layers of separation caused chaos in the front and back armies and supplies of the warhounds' cavalry, making it hard for them to determine how many people southern Xia had sent and they did not know which way to break through. While the calm martial ruler was making arrangements, he also ordered Kang State's Kang Yun Marquis to lead 200,000 Kang State cavalry to the battlefield. They worked together with the Imperial City Cavalry to attack the warhound's army in front of them. In this battle, they killed 80,000 of them and the rest of the cavalry were scattered, clearly unable to form an effective battle strength. The calm martial ruler was truly a veteran of the battlefield. The situation on the battlefield could change in an instant. To be able to accurately grasp opportunities, swiftly execute tactics, and control the troops, other than the calm martial ruler, there was no other general in southern Xia that could do this. Now the southern summer cavalry and warhounds' cavalry were fighting in Kang State. Although there were still over 300,000 warhounds' cavalry, they were being controlled from the front and back, unable to advance or retreat, so southern Xia had the advantage. Although the warhounds' cavalry were strong, they were too weak when it came to strategy, so they were just a motley crew. The southern summer king sent the royal envoy with a request. That was to have Miracle Commerce use the radio to spread the news throughout the country. This kind of victory was a good thing, so Chu Tian would not reject it, immediately announcing it to the entire country. This large victory was already set in stone and the confidence of the southern Xia citizens increased. The southern summer king used this chance to announce the news of the northern expedition, which boosted the morale of countless southern Xia citizens. At this time, Miracle Commerce did not miss this chance and released the Great Summer Beacon made by the Southern Summer King. This was a movie about patriotism. It was filled with hot blood, dedication, and sacrifice. As expected, when the Great Xia Beacon was broadcasted, it immediately caused a sensation in the capital. The movie sponsors, such as the Flaming Rose Merchant Guild, saw their equipment sales skyrocket, and many mercenary groups began to order weapons from them in batches. The patriotism of the southern Xia citizens soared and countless youths prepared to join the army, expanding their territory for southern Xia. This was the result the Southern Summer King wanted to see. Now that Southern Shia's morale had reached its peak, as long as the calm martial ruler returned in triumph, Southern Shia would be able to lead the army north and embark on a road that had been dreamed of for several generations. In a few days, another piece of good news came from Kang State. The calm martial ruler won 3 battles, annihilating a total of over 100,000 enemies and only losing 10-20,000 people. The Southern Summer Cavalry had a strict offensive and defensive formation. The Warhound's cavalry had already been split up by the calm martial ruler's high-level tactics, so they could no longer gather their battle strength. If this trend continued and there were no more changes, in around 10 days, the calm martial ruler would be able to finish the battle. It was estimated that he would be able to annihilate at least 3/4 of the enemy's army. With these continuous reports, the one who was the happiest was naturally the Southern Summer King. That night, the Southern Summer King summoned Chu Tian and asked Chu Tian, "The calm martial ruler's victory has been decided and this king is preparing to launch a northern expedition. I wonder what you think about this. Strange. I don't know how to lead an army. Why are you asking me?" Chu Tian cupped his hands and said, "This little one does not know how to lead an army, but with the 3 rulers' help, this northern expedition will have a great chance. There are already several thousand source energy weapons in reserve, so I think they can be used to equip our soldiers. The Southern Summer Army's battle strength will increase by another level." The Southern Summer King said with a serious expression, "The source energy weapons are Southern Shia's secret, even the Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler do not know much about them. So, regarding the matter of the Imperial City Weapon Factory, you must keep it a secret. Don't reveal the trump card of Southern Shia too early." Understood. There is a matter that this king needs Miracle Commerce's help with. Chu Tian knew that the Southern Summer King would not see him for no reason. "Dare I ask what it is?" Since Southern Shia is going on an expedition, information is very important. "I want to build a communication system at the frontline fortress before the calm martial ruler returns. This way, Imperial City can exchange information with the other fortresses, greatly increasing the mobility and vitality of the Southern Summer Army." The Southern Summer King said this, "So I want to ask Miracle Commerce to make a trip. Of course, this king will not miss out on the reward." Chu Tian understood the Southern Summer King's meaning. The Southern Summer King wanted Miracle Commerce to arrange communication equipment at the frontline fortress. This way, the commander of the fortress could send information back to Imperial City and Imperial City could give orders or send reinforcements according to the situation. This changed the traditional method of communication and greatly increased the efficiency of the army. Opportunities were fleeting. If Imperial City could control information during a battle, it would have a decisive effect on the outcome of the battle. Could Chu Tian reject this request? The Southern Summer Country's battle with the War Hounds was related to the fate of the country. If the Southern Summer Country was defeated, the War Hounds would return. With the nest overturned, how could there be an intact egg? Chu Tian had to agree even if he didn't want to. The Southern Summer King was very happy. "All right. This king will be patrolling the border to raise the morale of the Southern Summer Army and prepare for the northern expedition. I'll personally escort you this time." The Southern Summer King would personally escort him. This was truly a large honor. Since the Southern Summer King gave Chu Tian face this time, Chu Tian did not raise any excessive conditions and agreed on the spot. Chapter 316. This kind of simple task did not require Chu Tian to personally go. Sending Yun Yarrow and Feng Kadi was enough. However, the Southern Summer King wanted to be safe, so he wanted Chu Tian to personally go. This was because the frontline communication station was related to the war, so there could not be a single mistake. After Meng Qingwu learned of the situation, she said to Chu Tian, "Normal companies are not allowed to approach the frontline fortress. This is a rare chance, so I'll go with you." Chu Tian was a bit surprised. "The young miss is also going?" Meng Qingwu said, "The frontline fortress is a large market, especially after the war. Food, military supplies, tools, and etc. There is a large demand from all sides. Miracle Commerce going ahead to prepare will help Miracle Commerce expand a step further and will also prepare for the war, creating a solid foundation for the war. After all, the war in Southern Shia will have a large impact on us, so if we can contribute our strength, we will not hesitate. Saying this was reasonable. Then he would bring the young miss with him. Chu Tian would be responsible for supervising the construction of the communication station, while the young miss would be responsible for inspecting the frontline market and discussing cooperation with the fortress army. There was no conflict in doing these two things together. But once Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu left, the two leaders of miracle commerce would not be here. Chu Tian was going with the king to inspect the frontline, and the imperial tutor Jiyu Chenqiu would also be going. With the calm martial ruler out, wouldn't miracle commerce be isolated in Imperial City? Because he was afraid someone would stab them in the back, he did not bring Chen Bingyu or the 18 yin corpses to protect him. He was going with the king this time, with the great scholar accompanying him, and with the little fox as his bodyguard. Even if there was a sudden situation, Chu Tian would be able to deal with it. Southern Xia's frontline, there were a total of 5 fortresses and each one was heavily guarded, so their safety could be guaranteed. The Southern Summer King had a request for Chu Tian, and Chu Tian would play an important role in the future. Although the Southern Summer King was narrow-minded, he would not make a move against Chu Tian. The next morning, the royal carriage moved, with 3 ninth awakened soul layer golden lions pulling it and 200 griffin knights protecting it. General Wang Tianlong was riding an earth dragon to lead the way, while Jiyu Chenqiu, Chu Tian, and the others followed behind, slowly heading north. This lineup was very shocking, and the possibility of being assassinated was close to zero. Actually, no one dared to assassinate the Southern Summer King. Those who could sit in high positions in this era, even if they weren't the strongest in the group, they wouldn't be too weak. The Southern Summer King was a bit weaker than the calm martial ruler, but he was still a true spirit realm expert. He was not someone an ordinary person could resist. Who in Southern Xia had the ability to assassinate the Southern Summer King? But the Southern Summer King bringing Wang Tianlong with him was a bit out of Chu Tian's expectations. Although Chu Tian did not like this fellow, the Southern Summer King bringing him out of Imperial City was good for miracle commerce. At least he didn't need to worry that miracle commerce would be plotted against by the Wang family while he was gone. The prairie was 1,000 miles wide and there were no humans, only the occasional scout post. They did not meet any obstructions along the way, and finally a black outline appeared on the horizon. They had finally arrived. This was the northern border of Southern Xia. Everyone could see the largest fortress of the 5 frontlines in the distance. It was called the Iron Fortress and was commonly known as the Iron City. There were around 500,000 Southern Summer soldiers stationed here, and this was the pillar of Southern Xia's resistance against the Warhound Plains. This Iron City seemed to have descended from the sky, but it also seemed to have jumped out of the ground, standing abruptly on the flat grassland. No matter which Southern Xia person it was, when they saw the Iron City for the first time, they would be shocked by its grandeur. The Iron City was not just a fortress in the wilderness. When the 2 walls of the Iron City converged, they suddenly shrank into one, finally extending over 100 kilometers in both directions. These walls were 50 meters tall and were made of solid rock. There was also a layer of iron armor on the surface that sparkled under the sunlight. It was like a barrier that covered the sky, making people feel intimidated. It was like a giant black monster spreading its arms to the left and right, wanting to embrace the entire prairie. How could this mountain-swallowing aura not make people fall over? This was the famous Southern Summer City Wall. The entire city wall was over 1,000 kilometers long, connecting the 5 frontline fortresses together. Each of the 5 fortresses was garrisoned with the departing Flame Corps and the Battle Dragon Army among them. The 5 frontline fortresses and the city wall formed a strong defense system, protecting the imperial region from the Warhounds tribe again and again. This great northern barrier was built by the first-generation Southern Summer King, using close to 1 million people. It was only completed by the 3rd-generation Southern Summer King, consuming a large amount of manpower and resources, causing Southern Xia to be in a state of poverty for a long time. However, it was enough to prove that this was a very effective defensive project. Meng Qingwu was a bit stunned seeing this. This is too spectacular. This is the miracle created by Southern Xia. Southern Xia's northern Great Wall had been passed down by traveling poets, and Meng Qingwu had heard of this miracle many times. Now that she could personally see it, her life in Southern Xia was not in vain. The The Griffin Knights brought Wang Shuxian into the fortress. When the king arrived in front of the fortress gates, a deep and powerful voice rang out, "Open the gate." Hong, dong, 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 dong. Dozens of thick black iron chains were pulled, and a huge metal drawbridge was slowly lowered, filling a deep and wide defensive trench. Then, a seamless iron door opened, and a few hundred cavalrymen rushed out. Each of them was wearing black armor, and each of them held a 3-meter-long lance. They quickly divided into 2 rows and surrounded the king's entourage. An old black-armored general with a white beard was leading several neat rows of soldiers, coming out of the fortress to welcome them. "Old soldier Dongfang Zhon greets your majesty." The black-armored general, the cavalry, the infantry, and even the archers on the walls, each person had the Dongfang family's insignia on their armor. It was clear that these were the Dongfang family's soldiers. For this old general to be sent to guard the most important fortress of southern Xia, he must have a very high status in the Dongfang family. This old general called himself an old soldier, and his humble attitude made people look at him in a new light. Meng Qingwu was filled with respect. "This is old Marshal Dongfang Zhon?" Chu Tian had never heard of this name before. "Is he very famous?" Meng Qingwu said, "The frontline Marshal Dongfang Zhon has been on the front lines for 50 years. Shen Fenghu and the Golden Arrow Marquis have all listened to the old marshal's orders. Dongfang Zhon is also a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert, his military merits far surpassing any marquis. Then why hasn't he been granted the title of marquis? This is the most respectable aspect of the old marshal." Meng Qingwu said with a look of admiration, "The old marshal thinks that the Dongfang family already has enough honor, having the Southern Summer King and the Southern Summer First Ruler. The family's position is incomparably stable, so why add another marquis? It would be better to give up the marquis title and motivate the Southern Summer men to fight in the front lines. He would also be able to fight on the front lines without any land." This was the truth. Dongfang Zhon was the frontline marshal, only below the calm martial ruler. His position was incomparably respected, but he had never had a day of nobility. He had never enjoyed a happy life, never married, and had no children. He had dedicated most of his life to the Southern Summer country, guarding the Southern Summer border. He could be considered a model soldier. The calm martial ruler had once evaluated Dongfang Zhon, loyal and courageous to guard the Southern Summer country, wholeheartedly dedicated to the country, unparalleled in bravery, and outstanding in strategy. With such a good general falling from the heavens, why worry about the war hounds invading the border? This was the calm martial ruler's highest evaluation of a general. Dongfang Zhon was indeed worthy of this evaluation. Actually, Dongfang Zhon's seniority was higher than the calm martial ruler's. He was the calm martial ruler's and the Southern Summer King's uncle. Before he was bestowed the ruler title, the calm martial ruler had 10 years of experience on the front lines, learning tactics from Dongfang Zhon at that time. Dongfang Zhon was half a teacher to the calm martial ruler, but the student surpassed the master. After Dongfang Gan was bestowed the title of calm martial ruler, his position in the army surpassed Dongfang Zhon's. Dongfang Zhon did not have any complaints about this and followed the calm martial ruler's orders, becoming the calm martial ruler's most capable assistant. "Old general, please stand up." The Southern Summer King personally helped Dongfang Zhon up and said with a face full of guilt, "General has guarded the frontline fortress for many years, possessing great merits, and no one can compare to you. You have such a high position, but there has never been a day of nobility. This king has been ashamed of general ever since I inherited the throne, so how could I receive the old general's greeting?" Dongfang Zhon's old face turned dark. The king is the king and the general is the general. How could this old soldier dare be rude? The Southern Summer King could not do anything about his uncle's stubborn temper, so he could only change the topic. He turned around and introduced the Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong and the great scholar Jiyu Qianqiu. The old general is already very familiar with them. Wang Tianlong and Jiyu Qianqiu cupped their hands. Dongfang Zhon also bowed to Jiyu Qianqiu when he saw him, but he did not say anything to Wang Tianlong. This strange scene did not escape Meng Qingwu and Chu Tian's eyes. This was a bit strange. Dongfang Zhon and Jiyu Qianqiu should have only met a few times, but Wang Tianlong was completely different. Wang Tianlong was the frontline army's vice commander and the Battle Dragon Army's young commander. After Dongfang Zhon abdicated, the one most likely to take over as the frontline army's commander was Wang Tianlong. Why did Dongfang Zhon ignore Wang Tianlong? Was there a conflict between the two of them? Dongfang Zhon's eyes fell onto Chu Tian's group and his two white brows tightly knit together. Who are these two? Forgive this old soldier for being rude, but the frontline fortress is not a place anyone can enter. Unrelated people cannot be allowed in. The old general's voice was filled with dissatisfaction. The Southern Summer King was inspecting the front lines in the name of inspecting, so there was nothing to say. The Southern Summer King would inspect the front lines every year. On one hand, it was to monitor the frontline defenses, and on the other hand, it was to reward the soldiers. It was to show that the kingdom had never forgotten them, raising the morale of the frontline soldiers. But did the Southern Summer King not know? The fortress was an important place. Unrelated people were not allowed in. The layout of the frontline fortress and the various fortifications were all secrets of the country. How could they be casually looked at by others? Now he had brought a group of people he did not recognize, especially the two people at the front. Chu Tian was simply too young, but what made Dongfang Zhon even more dissatisfied was that there was a woman in this group. It just so happened that this was a woman of outstanding beauty. The frontline fortress soldiers had hard days and many of them had not returned home for many years. If this kind of beauty appeared in this kind of place, it would cause a disturbance and it would lower their morale, even shaking their faith. This was something Dongfang Zhon could not tolerate. Chapter 317. Old General has misunderstood. The Southern Summer King laughed a few times. This king will introduce you. These two are Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu, the founders of Miracle Commerce. Speaking of Miracle Commerce, Old General should not be unfamiliar, right? Dongfang Zhon's white beard trembled. You are the founders of Miracle Commerce? Why did the Old General's attitude change 180 degrees? It was truly strange. Could it be that the Miracle Commerce brand was even popular on the border? Chu Tian did not know he was this famous. Dongfang Zhon took a step back and then gave a deep bow to the two of them. This made Meng Qingwu feel flattered. Why would a famous general of southern Xia suddenly give such a bow? Our soldiers needed to carry large amounts of rations when they went to war. Not only was it very troublesome, they also ate dry rations for a long time. Even if they could fill their stomachs, it would be hard for them to replenish their energy and their battle strength would decrease over time. Dongfang Zhon said this and then said with a face of gratitude, now they only need to carry a few cans of food and the soldiers can fight for several days. Miracle Commerce's canned food has appeared on the front lines, greatly increasing the army's battle strength. This is truly a good invention that benefits the country and the people. So it was like this. No wonder his attitude had changed this much. But gratitude is gratitude. Please forgive this old soldier for not being able to accommodate you. The old general's expression changed too quickly and became serious once again. Unrelated people are not allowed in. This is the military rule. The Southern Summer King was angry and happy. He did not call him general and directly shouted, "Old uncle, do you think this king is such a senseless person? Since I brought these two people from 1,000 miles away to the fortress, this king naturally has his reasons. I'll let the great scholar explain it to you." Dongfang Zhon was a bit stunned. Could there really be another reason? Although Dongfang Zhon had not seen Jiyu Qianqiu many times, he was filled with admiration for the great scholar. He knew that the great scholar was a pillar of the country and had made an indelible contribution to the rise of southern Xia. Jiyu Qianqiu had no choice. Who told him to meet a stubborn old general, so he could only patiently explain. The general must have heard of the calm martial ruler's trip to Kang State. Of course I have heard of it. The calm martial ruler is very experienced in using troops. How could the warhound scoundrels resist him? In less than 10 days, the calm martial ruler will return victoriously. My king thinks so too. When Jiyu Qianqiu said this, he suddenly changed the topic. The day the calm martial ruler returns in triumph, that will be the day your majesty leads the northern expedition against the warhound. What? Northern warhounds? Dongfang Zhon seemed to have been injected with 10 doses of chicken blood. His originally dark and rough old face suddenly turned purple. Really? Could it be that the time was ripe? Although the warhound's plains have internal strife, Once there is enough external pressure, they will unite. Isn't it a bit too early to go on a northern expedition? The Southern Summer King gave a slight nod. With the current military strength of the country, it is indeed too early to attack the war hounds, but a variable has appeared in southern Xia, and that is miracle commerce. Dongfang Zhon's heart surged with emotions. If the Southern Summer King had said he would attack the prairies 30 years ago, Dongfang Zhon would have stopped him because the country's strength was not enough to shake the prairies. Today, southern Xia was becoming stronger, and the calm martial ruler had been planning the northern expedition. This generation's Southern Summer King's counterattack against the war hounds was already a foregone conclusion, only the exact time was unknown. It could be 10 years later, or it could be 20 years later. This was southern Xia's most experienced general. His potential had already reached its limit, and he was slowly getting old. The greatest regret in his life was that he had been defending the warhound's plains for 50 years, but he had never led an army to attack. There really wasn't much time left. Dongfang Zhon's greatest wish was to lead the army to the north. For an old southern summer general, there was no better ending than dying in the warhound's plains. Now that such a good chance had appeared, how could Dongfang Zhon not be pleasantly surprised? Although every drop of blood in his body was filled with the desire to fight, this old general had experienced many things, and fame had never been his goal. Perhaps he was not as strong as the calm martial ruler and did not have the calm martial ruler's military skills, but he had fought the warhound's plains for 50 years, so he understood this mysterious prairie better than anyone else in southern Xia. The warhound's plains had always been shrouded in a layer of fog, so no one could clearly see his strength. Southern Xia had indeed become stronger, but it was still a small country. The Great Summer Country had been destroyed in the past. Was southern Xia really prepared to counterattack? Jiyu Qianqiu was an experienced old man. When he saw Dongfang Zhon remain silent, he could guess the conflict in his heart. With a faint smile, he said, "Regarding miracle commerce, there are too many secrets, so there are some things that cannot be leaked right now. I think when the time is right, my king will naturally tell you. I'll simply tell you the goal of our trip." This secret was naturally the source energy weapons. This was the greatest confidence that southern Xia had in starting the war early, but because it was an ultimate trump card, it could not be revealed right now. Without the Southern Summer King's permission, he could not say it. Jiyu Qianqiu cleared his throat and introduced it. Miracle Commerce has brought a new kind of technology to the front lines, a technology that can transmit information in real time. When Jiyu Qianqiu finished, Dongfang Zhon was completely stunned. Really? There was really such a magical technology in this world? If Miracle Commerce could really realize it, this technology would be a great help to the front lines. Not only would it greatly reduce the chances of losing a battle, it would also allow more soldiers to survive on the battlefield. Dongfang Zhon was very clear that this world did not have any so-called military strategy. Military strategy was to use the difference in time, information, and guessing the enemy's movements. This was a kind of art of war. If a rapid exchange of battlefield information could be established, every reconnaissance station and every wandering scout could report the intelligence to the frontline fortress at any time, and the frontline fortress could transmit the intelligence to the capital instantly. Then, a super-fast response information network would be established. This way, the chances of mistakes would be reduced to the lowest. Even the most incompetent general could control the situation. Miracle Commerce had brought canned food to the frontline soldiers, and now it had brought precious communication equipment. It was unknown how many lives these two things had saved. To Dongfang Zhon, who loved his soldiers like his own children, Chu Tian could only be described as great. Chu Tian said with a smile, "Old General, can we go in now? You have to know that if we are a second late, we will be a second late in completing the equipment." Dongfang Zhon was already filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. "Forgive this old soldier for offending you. Please come in, please come in." The Iron City was not too big and it was very closed, only having 2 gates in front and back. On the left and right sides of the Iron City were battle paths. Because the city walls were 2 layers, there was a long path between the 2 layers. These paths allowed cavalry to pass through, allowing the 5 forts to connect together. The army quickly moved through the battle paths, fighting against the warhound's cavalry attacking from different directions. The 5 Great Forts. The 1,000-mile Great Wall. 600,000 elite soldiers, forming a single fighting unit. Southern Xia had used several decades to complete this large project. It was truly using the power of the entire country. Chu Tian did not look around when he arrived at the Iron City, immediately arranging for Jiyu Chenqiu and the others to prepare. They began to build the magnetic sound tower, magnetic image tower, and ultra-wave transmission tower, these 3 pieces. Chu Tian also planned to build a special broadcasting station and loudspeaker, so they did not need to use the primitive method of the fire beacon. Dongfang Zhon could create a special communication unit that could send out detailed orders to the troops in different areas. They could even send out orders to the sentry posts and patrols. The troops that went out only needed a portable magnetic sound device, which was enough to receive the information from the base. After Dongfang Zhon learned of this series of wondrous uses, his beard almost fell off from his trembling. He immediately patted his chest and promised that if there was anything he could ask this old soldier, he would do his best to help him. Other than that, Dongfang Zhon gave Chu Tian a token. With this token in hand, no matter what Chu Tian did, no one would dare stop him. Night gradually fell. Miracle commerce began to work. The Southern Summer King climbed up a watchtower by himself, looking into the north with a pair of bright eyes. The sky was filled with stars and the earth was dark, just like an endless ocean. Wild winds howled, as if it had not stopped for tens of thousands of years, singing the legends of this place. The Southern Summer King was filled with ambition. He admitted that he was not an outstanding king. But this did not stop him from becoming a great king. Whether it was the first-generation Southern Summer King with great talent or the previous kings with great military and political achievements, there had never been a person like him who was able to embrace this land. The dreams of countless generations of ancestors would be realized in this king's hand. Even if this king was mediocre and incompetent, he would still be remembered by history. The Southern Summer King became more and more excited. If he could single-handedly turn Southern Xia back into the Great Summer Country, how great of an achievement would that be? Dongfang Hao's name would be sung by countless future generations. At least in this corner of the continent, he would become a legend of a generation. A gentle cough was heard at this time. The Southern Summer King's fantasy had been interrupted, so his heart was a bit dissatisfied. When he turned around to see the other side, this dissatisfaction disappeared and he said with a smile, "Old uncle, why are you looking for this king this late at night?" Dongfang Zhon's tall and old body slowly walked over. "This old soldier wants to give my king a piece of advice." The Southern Summer King was a bit stunned. "What matter is there that you have to say it in private?" Dongfang Zhon was silent for a few seconds. "I'm afraid Wang Tianlong cannot be used." "Ah!" The Southern Summer King was very surprised. General Wang has many merits and the calm martial ruler has praised him. This king has already given him the title of heroic martial marquis, so why can't old uncle use him? Dongfang Zhon gave a sigh. The calm martial ruler is skilled in war, but not in human affairs. Moreover, the calm martial ruler is the commander-in-chief, so he does not have much contact with a young general like Wang Tianlong. This old soldier is different. Although my eyes are blurred, after 10 years, it is enough for me to see a person clearly. The Southern Summer King knit his brows. Wang Tianlong is the most talented general of the younger generation. He has a calm personality, is humble, and does not ask for credit. Could it be that he is not a good general? Dongfang Zhon said, "Not greedy for small benefits, he is either like this old soldier, not interested in these things, or he has a bigger ambition." This old soldier thinks Wang Tianlong belongs to the latter. Letting this kind of person with a deep heart be the frontline marshal, I'm afraid. The Southern Summer King waved his hand to cut him off. "Old uncle, do you have any proof?" "There is no proof." "Then after old uncle, who can be the frontline marshal? This is what I am worried about the most. There is no one in the younger generation of Southern Xia that can be the frontline marshal. But it is different now. With Chu Tian and Miracle Commerce's technical support, the frontline marshal does not need to be that talented." The Southern Summer King was already a bit dissatisfied. What kind of words was this? Could it be they were looking for a mediocre person to take over the wall army? This old general couldn't have gone senile with age, right? Dongfang Zhon could feel the Southern Summer King's dissatisfaction and immediately emphasized, "This old soldier is not a jealous person. If Wang Tianlong is really useful, this old soldier can immediately give up his position, only this person." The Southern Summer King laughed. All right, old uncle is thinking too much. General Wang has a calm personality, does not ask for credit, and is not arrogant. Although there is a gap between old uncle and him, he is still a good general. Now that Southern Xia needs people, how could this king not use them? As for the frontline marshal, old uncle is old and strong, holding it for another 10 years is not a problem, so you don't need to worry too much. Dongfang Zhon wanted to say something, but he hesitated. The Southern Summer King cut him off. This king is a bit tired, so old uncle should rest early. Tomorrow, you will follow this king to inspect the fortress and reward the soldiers, raising morale. With the upcoming battle, we can talk about it later. After saying this, the Southern Summer King left. Chapter 318. In the next few days, the Southern Summer King began to patrol the border. The frontline fortress had a total of 600,000 soldiers, but there were only 100,000 cavalry. The soldiers stationed at the frontline fortress were all elites of Southern Xia. The Southern Summer King's personal patrol immediately caused the soldiers to cheer. The Southern Summer King was very generous this time, wantonly spending money, wine, and meat. He rewarded the soldiers of the various armies, raising the morale of the army and preparing for the northern expedition. Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu were busy with their work. The magnetic sound tower, magnetic image tower, and ultra-wave signal transmission tower would take a week to complete. This place was not far from Imperial City, so once the 3 towers were completed, the signal would instantly cover the area. Everyone was busy and the little fox was very bored, so it wandered around by itself. It quickly climbed to the top of the tallest watchtower in Iron City and sat on the steeple. It licked its fur, crossed its legs, and looked into the distance in boredom. The little fox felt that this place was too boring. There was nothing good to eat or fun to do, and it didn't know when its master would bring it back. It was a good thing it had stored enough food in its stomach. The little fox rubbed its belly and spat out a pill bottle that was filled with sacred pills. It lazily basked in the sun like this, as if it was eating jelly beans. It threw these hard-to-buy sacred pills into its mouth one by one, chewing and swallowing them, enjoying the small bourgeois life of a little fox. If this scene was seen by Chu Tian, he would definitely slap it. This was simply a waste of money. After the little fox finished the bottle of sacred pills, it was only half full, but it didn't plan on eating anymore. Its master hadn't provided it with food in a long time, and although it had a lot of food, it had to eat sparingly to avoid starving in the future. The little fox thought of something and spat out a round object. It held it in its paws and looked at it carefully. At first glance, it looked like a top-quality white jade ball. It was very smooth and round, and it emitted bursts of mysterious energy. When the little fox turned the jade ball over, a pitch-black pupil suddenly appeared in front of it, as if it was staring at it. The instant it released a powerful pressure, a normal life-form's mind would collapse. This was an eyeball, or more accurately, the eyeball of an ancient god. The little fox had risked its life in the Central State Trial Tower to swallow it. The energy that the little fox had obtained in the past few months was rarely used on its own growth, most of it was used to refine it. This eyeball was originally several times the size of the little fox, but now it had shrunk to a third of the little fox's size. It was only 1 or 2 times the size of a human's eyeball. This damn eyeball had actually consumed this much energy. If it had used the energy on the little fox's growth, then it would have had the strength to instantly kill its master. I hope this thing works. The little fox held the eyeball high up and blew on it. The eyeball seemed to be controlled by an ancient demonic art as it instantly shot out, falling several dozen meters into the air. The little fox closed its eyes and let its divine sense connect to the eyeball. It saw the ancient god's originally scattered eyeball suddenly recover its vigor and its pupils regain their focus. When the little fox's divine sense entered the eyeball and was released from the eyeball, it was like sound going through a megaphone, instantly being amplified by over 10,000 times. Instantly, the entire iron fortress appeared in the little fox's mind. This was the god's view or 3-dimensional view. In simpler terms, it was the divine senses view, which was not something the naked eye could compare to. The entire Iron Fortress complex structure appeared in the little fox's mind. Every secret room, every warehouse, every soldier, every nook and cranny. Everything was clear in its mind. The secret weapons in the secret rooms, the delicious food in the warehouses, the positions of the soldiers and secret sentries, and the spider weaving its web in a corner, everything was clearly seen by the little fox. The little fox revealed a grin. This eye was very useful. With it in the future, it wouldn't have to worry about not being able to find food. The little fox decided to test the divine eye's range again, so it aimed the eyeball towards the north. A divine sense was released, passing through several hundred miles and instantly landing on a certain spot in the prairie. The little fox found that the divine eye had a special characteristic. This eyeball was like a searchlight, being able to see several hundred miles away. The entire radius of its field of vision was illuminated. In other words, in this range, whether it was in front or behind, it was a blind spot. It could only change the area it illuminated to change the range of its field of vision. Other than that, the further it looked, the smaller the field of vision and the more blurry it was. For example, looking at the prairie several hundred miles away, whether it was the field of vision or the clarity, it was not as clear as looking at the Iron Fortress. This was most likely related to the strength of one's divine sense. The little fox's divine sense was not strong enough right now. If it could increase its divine sense's strength, even if it was 10,000 miles away, the little fox would be able to clearly see it. Easy to use. Not bad. The little fox was very satisfied with the divine eye's effect. It moved its field of vision and looked at the prairie. The birds and beasts on the prairie were all carefully observed by the little fox, but they did not notice it at all. The little fox played for a while and felt a bit tired, most likely because it had used too much divine sense. When it was about to put away the divine eye, suddenly, the little fox stood up. What is this thing? In the little fox's field of vision, there was a large group of things that suddenly appeared. It was like a black tide and the scale was very spectacular. There were giant rhinoceroses, giant elephants, and flags flying everywhere. Although the formation was very chaotic, the scale was very large. This is bad. The little fox put away its eye and turned into a cloud of grey mist. It moved like lightning several times and instantly appeared beside Chu Tian. It used its claws to pull at Chu Tian's clothes and it excitedly described the scene it had just seen to him. Meng Qingwu was beside Chu Tian and she rarely saw the little fox this anxious. What does it want to say? Chu Tian knit his brows and said in an uncertain voice, it said that it has discovered a large army that is currently charging in this direction. The Warhound's army? It should be. Are you sure you didn't see wrong? Chu Tian carefully asked the little fox again, how large is the enemy army? The little fox forcefully nodded and used its claws to draw a circle in front of it, indicating that it was very, very large. Then it pointed to the south, indicating that they should quickly run. Meng Qingwu's nerves tensed up. Chu Tian, what do you think? This little fellow isn't very reliable normally, but it wouldn't lie at a critical moment. Chu Tian's face turned serious. I'm afraid it's true. Meng Qingwu was shocked and nervous. This was completely unreasonable. The Warhounds had already gathered an army of 400,000 to attack Kang State. This army of 400,000 was already a difficult army for the Warhounds tribes. How could they send another army into the Imperial region? It had to be known that the Imperial region's defenses were several times stronger than Kang State's, so it was very hard for the Warhounds' army to pass through. Could it be that the Warhounds had already been unified? But even if several large tribes united, it would still be very hard to pass through this wall. If they attacked Kang State with 400,000 soldiers, how many soldiers could they gather to attack the Imperial region? Moreover, since they were going to attack the Imperial region, why did they have to split their forces to attack Kang State? Wouldn't it be better to attack one place together? Even if Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu did not understand military matters, they still had some basic knowledge. The 5 frontline fortresses had 600,000 soldiers and they were all the elites of the southern summer country. The Warhounds would need to send at least double the number of elites to pose a threat here. The warhounds were in a precarious situation and the large tribes did not have any food, so it was impossible for them to gather an army of 1,000,000. No matter what, the warhounds' surprise attack was a fact. He had to tell the Southern Summer King and Dongfang Zhon of this matter, letting the frontline fortresses prepare their defenses ahead of time. Chu Tian immediately went to find the Southern Summer King. What? The Southern Summer King had just finished inspecting the 5 fortresses and was drinking tea in Dongfang Zhon's command room. When he heard this news, he immediately smashed the teacup. The warhounds dare attack the imperial region? The Southern Summer King flew into a thunderous rage. All right, since they dare send themselves to death, then we'll let them taste the might of the Southern Summer Fortress garrison. Dongfang Zhon, immediately prepare for battle. Dongfang Zhon did not need to explain. Actually, Dongfang Zhon had already felt that something was strange. The sentry post had not reported the situation on the prairies to the fortress, which was something that should not have happened. Moreover, the scouts the calm martial ruler had planted in the prairies did not come back alive. All of these signs indicated that something was about to happen. When the bell rang in the Iron Fortress, all the soldiers in the fortress were mobilized. Tens of thousands of archers took up their shooting positions and various crossbow carts were prepared. The frontline fortresses often had to deal with enemy attacks, so they had already formed a fast response system. Not to mention the little fox's unexpected discovery of the warhounds' army gave the fortress at least 2 hours of preparation time, which was enough for them to prepare their defenses. The battlefield is dangerous. For my king's safety, I ask my king to immediately be escorted back to Imperial City by the Griffin Knights. Now that the entire frontline army knows that this king has come, if this king is timid in front of the enemy, wouldn't it hurt the morale of the frontline soldiers? Do I still want this Southern Summer King's face? The Southern Summer King was not a weak person. This king will personally supervise the battle today and fight against the warhounds with the frontline soldiers. Although Dongfang Zhon wanted to stop him, if the Southern Summer King left now, he would have the dignity of a king. The Southern Summer King was after all a true spirit expert. A single person could defeat 1,000 cavalry, so protecting himself was not a problem. Not to mention he had the powerful Griffin Knights to protect him. Not to mention the fact that the enemy's attack was imminent, retreating now was not safer than staying in the fortress. Forget it. The battle was more important. Dongfang Zhon immediately began to mobilize his troops. When the Iron Fortress had finished preparing for battle, waves of heaven-shaking war drums came from the horizon. It was like dark clouds mixed with muffled thunder, making people feel very oppressed. The warhounds' army was too big, covering the entire prairies with a single glance. There were at least 700,000 to 800,000 people in front and several dozen miles away. When he saw the size of the enemy, even Dongfang Zhon was shocked. There was a bad premonition that covered the entire frontline fortress. Kang State had sent 400,000 and the Imperial region had sent 800,000. These two armies added up to 1,200,000. An army of 1,200,000 was enough to pose a large threat to the frontline fortress, so why did the warhounds send 400,000 to attack Kang State? There was only one reason. The warhounds thought that 800,000 was more than enough to attack the Imperial region. That's right. It was not attacking the frontline fortress, it was attacking the Imperial region. The 600,000 soldiers in the frontline fortress could block double the enemy and Imperial City had a quick response team, which was the Storm Cavalry. If there was an emergency on the front lines, the calm martial ruler could lead the Storm Cavalry to support them. The warhounds' goal in attacking Kang State was not to attack Kang State City or to destroy the farms, they were just using the simplest method of luring the tiger away from the mountain. In the entire southern Shia, the commander the warhounds feared the most was the calm martial ruler. Secondly, there was a total of 500,000 cavalry in the northern southern summer country, with 100,000 in the Great Wall Army, 200,000 in Kang State, and 200,000 in Imperial City. These 500,000 soldiers reacted very quickly, so no matter where they were attacked, they could immediately send reinforcements. This was what the warhounds were worried about. After the warhounds attacked Kang State, the calm martial ruler led the Storm Cavalry to Kang State and surrounded the 400,000 warhounds cavalry with the Kang State army's 200,000 cavalry. The warhounds used 400,000 cavalry to tie down the calm martial ruler and the 400,000 cavalry of Southern Shia. When the two quick response teams could not leave and when Southern Shia's strongest general, the calm martial ruler, was sent away, the warhounds' goal had been achieved. When the 400,000 cavalry entered Kang State, the frontline fortress would not be able to send reinforcements in time. The warhounds had at least 10 days of time and they wanted to use these 10 days to break through the frontline fortress before flattening the entire imperial region. After Dongfang Zhon understood the warhounds' intentions, that deep sense of foreboding became even stronger. Dongfang Zhon had been fighting the warhounds for 50 years and this kind of tactic should not appear on the simple-minded warhounds. This kind of abnormal behavior, how could people not be shocked?